make America great again. So get on that train. Hey, I'm 60 KBL. You Russ with you. Tunes in studio. Glad to be here. Nice to have you back. You're leaving family, be gone for a month, and
yeah, well, things happen. And,
it
worked out.
Yeah, good Christmas.
Yeah, excellent.
Grandkids.
Yes, right. We took my daughter and I took them on an exploration trip. One of the little creeks there in the Dallas area. They have deliberately made it hard to access these little waterways because they don't want people dumping trash in them.
Oh, really?
I think that's the major reason. And you go back to the 60s and these waterways were just full of trash, and that's where they got their drinking water from. So they're real problems. So I think they solved it by one of the ways was to just minimize access. So you have to really study the maps and satellite photos to figure out where you can access.
You mentioned that, and it reminds me when I visited Boston and downtown Boston. We took the tours and talking to the tour guides and stuff like that, and they pointed out where the dumps, all the trash was right on the water.
Yeah,
and there'd be cows floating in it, all kinds of stuff. And that's not allowed anymore.
Right. Exactly. Well, we found out water's important to your health.
Let's take a phone call. You're on the air.
Hello, Russ. It's Fernando again.
Hey, good morning, Fernando.
Did you see the movie Forrest Gump?
Yes, a couple times.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, the Three Amigos. You know who the Three Amigos are?
Well, yeah, it was Steve Martin.
It's Biden, Kamala, and Mallorca.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. I've seen those memes. Yeah.
Forrest asked Mama, "What we got a problem with immigration? Look at here, son. The immigration problem is like a moth shop. You never know what you get.
I think that's a good analogy.
What happened with Biden? They need all these trucks full of immigrants and trains full of immigrants and briefers full of immigrants. And that's the question. You never know what you get if you open it.
Well, we've got them open now. We're starting to find out a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I call them the club, B Club.
Okay.
The Tres Amigos.
Yes.
Dumb, dumber, and way dumber. And you include Newsom too.
Hey, you're a fan of the movies.
Well, I like to see what I can make a joke out.
That's absolutely great. Great analogies. Good meet, buddy. Appreciate the call.
Immigrant, it's like a box of chocolate.
Gotcha.
You never know what you're going to get.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
That's Fernando.
Yeah.
He couldn't wait to tell me that. Box of
well, what we're finding is that when you open up that box, there's a lot of nasty stuff in there that you didn't know about.
But you're not allowed to say it because then you're a racist on that chocolate.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, that seems to be what protected all this fraud going on.
I think that protection's going away.
I think so. I remember during the first Trump term, people would say the race card's maxed out.
But I mean, obviously, I've been following the stories of particularly Minnesota and all. The people involved are saying racist very quickly.
Yeah, but
people are used to it being an armor,
and it's like, people are ignoring it now.
Yeah, I'm racist against criminal people. If that's racist, I don't know.
I mean, it's just like, well, so what?
Yeah.
So you called me a name. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm not going to call you one back because it's kind of like, who cares?
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Let's focus on the crime, dude.
Yes.
And
the amounts we're talking about, billions of dollars. That's it's I mean, $1 million isn't what it used to be, but $1 billion is still a lot of money.
Well, yeah, the budgets for the entire state is done in billions. I don't know what it is. What is it in Arizona? Like 14, 15 billion?
I haven't.
For a year. And that year covers the jails, the
everything,
education, covers everything.
Yeah.
These guys are talking about $9 billion, maybe.
Yeah.
That's not confirmed.
And I'm not sure if it's over 1 year, 2 years, how many years.
I don't know.
But there's a tremendous amount. What we're finding is this huge amount of money just being promiscuously given out to people with no oversight. And a lot of it is fraud.
I think there is oversight, but I think the oversight's in on it.
Yeah, it's like, where's my cut?
They had a lady from Minnesota that was in charge of like something that she's a government employee, and I don't know if she was a supervisor. I think she was a supervisor, like commissioner or something, and talk about the housing department. Well, that's not true because we go and we inspect them every 6 months unannounced. And a center that was
Yeah.
misspelled, a Leering Center.
Yeah, Leering is how it was spelled.
She said, "Well, that closed over a week ago." But the owners are telling me, "No, it's open. It's running every day." You know, I think they're just covering.
Right.
They're just covering. And so they had to be aware. I mean, if this one guy, Nick Shirley, could just walk in and identify $100 million worth of fraud
Yeah.
in a short amount of time by himself. He's 23 years old. And,
Yeah.
and the entire, and Walt says he's been working on it for years.
Yeah,
I
well,
can't find it.
hasn't been doing a very good job, apparently.
Yeah.
What we see, I mean, I see this as part of what the Cloward-Piven strategy that was a couple of professors, leftist professors, put out around 1966. And it's at the higher levels on the left, I think it's well understood. And the idea was that we bring so many people into the welfare system and we make it so there's no criticism of the welfare system because that's racist.
Yeah.
And we keep pushing more and more programs and more people into it and telling people they shouldn't have to work and they're entitled to all this stuff until we break the system. And then magically we win. That was their idea because they believe once the system gets broke, the reform will be socialist America, which is what they wanted. It's really stupid because the world doesn't work that way.
I hope it doesn't. I think we learned a lot during the shutdown when SNAP was so out of control. I had no idea. There's 42 million people. 42 million people.
And
it's generational, and it's
the Cloward and Piven became heroes on the left. They got all kinds of awards. Their books
for breaking. We're doing that. Yeah. For the strategy.
For the strategy that you destroy capitalism by overspending, by spending so much until you break the system. Well, that's crazy because there's no guarantee you're going to get something better out of it.
Let's take a phone call. You're on the air.
And I forgot to tell you about that problem with the Social Security.
What's the problem?
Okay, I was sitting at the Social Security on the bench waiting for my wife. She had a little problem. This lady in a Cadillac drives up almost in front of me on the other side, and she gets off out of a Cadillac. Okay, takes her band, golden bands, rings, and then she tosses her hair around and no makeup, and she walks into the Social Security. Would you believe that?
Yeah,
I was laughing.
Well, Social Security has a lot to do with retirement stuff too.
It doesn't really have to do with how much you make.
It wasn't retirement. This lady took her gold bands, watch, and threw her hair around, no makeup, and she started walking like it was sore or something.
Huh.
She walked in.
She was looking for disability or something. Okay.
The people that they give money away, it's like Red Skelton. Remember the show Red Skelton?
Yeah.
The bozo.
Yes.
He was the richest man. He can walk in and probably get $1 million. They don't know about it.
That's true, and I think that's what's going on with the fraud system right now.
It's real bad.
People that know how to work it are realizing they're not going to say no.
Yeah. Oh, I think once the people start gaming the system, say, why shouldn't I do more and more?
And they game it on transportation, on health services, child care services, or all that.
It's a ripoff.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to Rome, do like the Romans. We're going to do it.
Well, I hope
Somalis, that's the problem. Hell, well, everybody's ripping off. We'll do it too.
I think their culture, they came in doing that. I don't know. They seem to adapt to it really fast.
But I think we're seeing a change. People are saying, no, we're not going to accept this now.
More so. I appreciate the call, Fernando. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, it seems to fit the Somali attitude.
Well, I think it is because in Somalia, you have basically tribal society.
Mm-hmm.
And in tribal societies, people who are outside the tribe are either enemies or resources. They're not tribal members, so they're not really people anymore.
Yeah, so we're not tribal members for that.
So apparently the U.S., and also you have the Islamic part of it, where it's perfectly okay to steal from infidels who are not Islamic.
Is that us? We're infidels?
Yeah, I would say mostly.
Okay, according to them.
Right.
Probably.
The U.S. government is handing out all this money. I'm going to grab a bunch of it under false pretenses. Allah is wonderful.
I'm hoping that some of these recent events break open a door to where we can talk about these things without worried about racism, that we take it seriously. Obviously, Tim Walz is not on board with that. The county commissioners are not on board with that in Minnesota.
Right.
But we need the voters and the people to say, enough of the nonsense.
Yeah, I think it's happening.
I hope so. I hope so. I don't know if it'll happen in Minnesota. The next election will tell. And I would love to see what the poll numbers in Minnesota are going to be. That because many people are going to look at that and say, I don't know why they're picking on the Somalis. I don't know why they're picking on Walz.
Well,
everybody steals.
I read a comment this morning about voter registration in Minnesota, supposedly a system that Governor Walz pushed through. And when you get a driver's license, you're automatically registered to vote.
Automatic, whether you want it or not?
Yes. And there's a box on the form where you can check it if you say, I am not a U.S. citizen. But you have to check it to show you're not a citizen. Wow. If you don't check it, it's assumed you are a citizen. And there's virtually no penalties for not checking the box.
Well, you know they have same-day registration for voting, too, the same day as an election.
That's pretty common.
No, unfortunately, but on theirs to register or to vote, you don't need any form of ID or anything. You just need a neighbor to say, yeah, he's the guy that lives next door with me or something.
Yeah, some places they want like a utility bill.
No, they're talking nothing. This
is in Minnesota.
In Minnesota, and one registered voter can take up to eight people and verify that they're living there.
Now, can those 8 people then get another 8 each?
No. That question was asked. But the one registered voter can take 8 people and verify this person is living here and he's allowed to vote.
Right.
And that's the only background check they do is a statement from one registered voter can put 8 people on the ballot. And we have this basic trust that all voters are registered that are all going to be honest.
Yeah. The Somali vote is what we think made the difference in electing Walz.
I read that from a lot of people.
Elon Omar.
In Minnesota, you can only represent 1.5% to 2% of the total population.
Right.
It's not big. It's small.
But what
but they got great power.
I think Tim Walz said something to the effect that they had a great ballot harvesting operation with the Somalis.
Yes.
So,
and then he justifies their actions by saying, "Well, the real criminals are the white men, and we need to go after the white guys."
Sounds kind of racist to me.
A little bit.
We're going to go after these people because their skin color is different.
Yeah. He's very much a racist, by the way. Very much a racist. But it's not identified as racist if you're anti-white.
Yes, that's the exception. See, we will define the terms to get the result we want. We're not going to use standard dictionary definitions because we decide what words mean. Right. And of course, if you have one party can decide what words mean, they never lose an argument because they just change the definitions so that they win.
Yeah. They can get away with white supremacy or toxic white masculinity, whatever they want to say, as long as you throw white in there. You throw any other race in there, racist.
Correct.
And I think justification I've read before on that is that, it makes sense because a person of color doesn't have any power.
Yeah, except it's violated by their own terms. I mean, what you see is that persons of color have more power because they can scream racism.
Yeah, they can do things we can't.
Right.
They can even use the N-word, which I have no interest in. but yes, it's amazing how that's so well accepted. And And if somebody of a different skin color says it, the room gets quiet
Yes.
and we throw somebody out.
But I think there's the reaction to it is happening. I think we're, as a society, we're just moving beyond that. We're saying, no, that's not real. I'm
Okay.
saying I lived long ago, back in the 70s, there was a lot of racism around. I saw it. It was obvious at the time. And it just is not accepted much anymore. There's still some. There's always
Yeah.
going to be
Oh,
some.
I've known people that are certifiable racist.
Right. But they don't have the power that they used to have.
No, I think it means nothing, and no one's going to take them seriously, and they're not going to bother calling a real racist because the guy's got no power. You're like you say, they're just going to call everybody else racist and stop
Well, what we've seen
conversation.
is the overreaction in exactly the opposite way. Where you have people at companies saying, "Well, we don't want any of those white guys here."
Yeah, that's not racist. That's just common sense.
And it's odd because it's not because they're saying that the white guys didn't do well or they didn't produce or they were lazy or stuff like that. It was because they were white.
Right. And they had all these advantages. Every white family has lots of money and opportunity.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So if you're a poor white family in Appalachia, but you have a very bright child, they don't get into Harvard because they're white. But if you have a very wealthy Black Nigerian trying to get in, well, of course they can get in.
Yeah.
It's not even rational or fair.
It's not even legal anymore.
Right. Yeah. The Supreme Court has been making some good.
I don't think the colleges have all adjusted.
No, but the Trump administration is trying to hold their feet to the fire.
Yeah, saying it's a meritocracy. It's a meritocracy. It's according to what you can do and
yes.
Can you get the job done? Or will you be a good brain surgeon, or do we just need a brain surgeon of color?
Yes, unfortunately, that's the thing.
We've asked college students that question before about the DEI thing, and they've asked college questions about, well, what about someone for brain surgery? Well, that's different because skill matters. But not on the football team.
Yeah, right. I mean, one of the assumptions in this whole concept is that all people of different skin colors all have the same abilities.
They don't.
But they don't.
No.
It's part of it is cultural, part of it is genetic. Yeah, there's both. And when you look at the studies that look at these things, it's a lot of variation. I was shocked to find that Japanese tend to be smarter than white Americans. At least on the test.
Actually, the Asian, population is the richest population in the United States per capita.
Yeah, I think you're correct. Although the Nigerians do very well.
Do they?
Yes, they're way above the average white American. Now, maybe there's some selection process going on there that only very highly able come here.
The image that these DEI guys make and everything is the white America is the richest, most powerful, and it's not.
No,
they're not.
Correct.
It's not. They need to go after the Asians, and I think they have at Harvard and stuff. They've stopped accepting them courses past a certain level. You can only have so many.
I know it's been a big controversy, and there have been lawsuits, and I think they're still in process. I'm not sure if they've been decided yet.
Probably
about discriminating against Asians, particularly.
Yeah, because they're too smart.
Yeah, we can't allow those people in here.
But I don't know that that's smart is genetic.
A lot of it, they culturally value education. They make their children do the schoolwork. You didn't get an A. How is it that you did not get an A?
Right.
You had plenty of time between 9 p.m. and midnight to do more study. Yes. I mean, they work really hard.
Yeah, some of that's cultural, and I think some of the Somali thing is cultural.
Sure, I think it is.
They don't see that they're doing anything improper, probably, or
no, I agree.
Stealing's in the way of life, maybe.
Well, as long as you're stealing for your family, your tribe, it's okay.
And it's against the evil empire of the United States, which we hate.
Well, and Victor Davis Hanson brings this up. He says, doesn't it seem odd to you that we have all these people wanting to come to the United States, but they don't want to assimilate? They don't want to accept the culture. They want to stay separate, and they want to violate all the norms that we have here in the United States. Doesn't that seem a little odd? And they don't want to go back to the country they came from. That's supposedly so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
it does sound odd, and we have the welfare system today, the safety net and everything that we're throwing hundreds of billions of dollars at, I think, every year, and that attracts a lot of people. You give out free money, people like it.
People come, and a lot of the welfare systems, with very few exceptions, it's not legal to go to people in the country illegally, but the states hide that.
Well, and during I think it was the Clinton administration, it might have been the Obama administration, or maybe it was the Biden administration, but they basically interpreted the rules to say, well, that doesn't really matter. Immigration status doesn't matter on welfare.
I haven't heard that. But the states stopped declaring it citizenship status.
Yeah.
And Trump administration has asked for it, and many states are refusing to give it.
Yes.
Right now, California won't give it.
And Trump has basically submitted or created an executive order to reverse the finding that you have to be considered with citizenship on welfare.
Mm-hmm.
And because by our immigration law, if you immigrate here, you're not supposed to be able to get public assistance.
Right.
But that was ignored in previous administrations, and there was some executive rulings to allow it to be ignored, as I understand.
But it's federal dollars.
Yes,
administrated by the state.
Right.
And if they're taking it on illegally, the state taking it in and passing it out.
Well, right, and we have some problems with the Medicare and Medicaid systems. That the way the incentives are now, states can essentially cheat and get a lot of federal money for very little.
I hope what happens with Minnesota, because they have become an attention getter,
right,
based on the outrageousness of it, the size of it,
right,
is that they get cut off, and the good folks of Minnesota that have voted these yahoos in have to pick up the tab, and none of it's going to come from the feds. And I bet they change their policies real quick.
Yeah, that's what you would hope would happen.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that the election system in Minnesota is robust enough that they can't just decide who gets voted in.
Everybody's got to take 8 people
yeah.
and vouch for them that they live with me and to be able to vote. And apparently that policy, it was hidden when they passed the law. The law was same-day voting. And it gave all the examples of what you can do to register. You can have a driver's license. You can have a heating bill, electric bill. And it went on a list of, passport and a lot of stuff. The last one, we'll have a neighbor out for you. Up to 8.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, they just thrown in there. And I don't think it was focused on.
Well, and we see this, I've watched legislation for quite a few years, and you see that people put these things in bills and manage to get them passed. On the opposite side, in Arkansas, and it's about 20 years ago, the Republicans changed a couple of words in a bill that was meant to overhaul the definition of travel with firearms. Well, a couple words basically said that if you are not intending to commit a crime, it's okay.
Oh,
and so the legislature, the Democrats, after it was passed and had been signed by the governor, by the way, said, well, that's not what we meant. We didn't really mean it that way. And the governor said that the attorney general should declare that they weren't going to follow that law because it wasn't what they really meant.
After they signed it.
Yeah, right. They couldn't do anything. The court said look, this is what the law says. We go by what it says, not what you say.
But there's a wrong there. There's something they could take away from the legislature
Yes.
and amend it.
Yes,
But they know that amendment wouldn't pass.
that's correct. Because the law was popular. It was popular.
Yeah, it wouldn't pass. So there is something you can do. Take it right to the legislature.
Of course, you are correct.
And that's what they refuse to do, but they tell the press, and it's all about public opinion.
Of course, they're trying to manipulate the opinion in their direction. But yes, I was amused by it because I wrote several articles about it because I read the law and I said, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, I'm not going to
People disagreed with me too, but I was proved correct eventually.
Eventually. We'll be right back.
Bringing out 2025 and the forecast calling for 64 and cloudy today, north wind at 5 to 10. Cloudy early this evening, 52 overnight. Partial clearing overnight, leading to partly cloudy on New Year's Day, high of 70. Partly cloudy at 53 on Thursday night.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Micro. That's pound 250, Micro.
The Desert Lily Annual Quilt Show is coming Friday and Saturday, January 9th and 10th at the Yuma Civic Center with hundreds of beautiful quilts and wearable art items on display. See the special quilts celebrating America's 250th birthday. There'll be items for sale at the country stores and a fat quarter basket drawing. Admission is just $8. Buy tickets for your chance at winning the Love in a Mist quilt. Proceeds to benefit the Hanson House. The Desert Lily Annual Quilt Show, January 9th and 10th at the Yuma Civic Center. Don't miss it.
AM 560 KBLU, Russ Cartoon back with me.
I'm glad to be here.
Our lines are open 928-344-5258. In Minnesota, I want to continue on with that. Pam Bondi has credited the independent journalist Shirley in doing what other reporters couldn't do, Tim Walz couldn't do,
Well,
and their attorney general couldn't do.
I actually was reading quite a bit about this online, and they said there had been quite a few investigations.
Yep.
But it just never had caught on. The narrative had never caught on nationally with this. And it seems like the video showing these actual places that were just,
50 of
a
them.
name.
He said 50.
Yes. And that really exploded it nationally.
I had a phone call. I accidentally hung up on it. My apologies. Call back. But yeah, I think that's true. But they're really not actively investigating at this point. They may say they are. That's lip service because
Well, there were some people who were convicted of some fraud, from what I understand.
years ago.
Yes.
Not under my understanding is a lot of that happened before Tim Walz took office.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that.
But currently there's some.
Oh yeah.
Take a phone call. You're on the air.
Good morning, Russ and Dean.
We're doing
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My question for you, I want you to clarify my thinking a little bit. But what we, the people of the United States taxpayers, are now sending to Minnesota
Wow.
to take care of learning centers that the people don't even know how to spell.
Yeah.
Is that the way I'm thinking or understanding this?
That's exactly right. A portion of it's
A lot of them were just fake. I mean, they were just a nameplate or
Yeah.
with nothing really there.
there was really no kids involved. No kids were injured.
Yeah. Oh, I understand that.
They were just
But-
child care by name only.
And President Trump, he can really, and what he did was he said, well, stop the checks. Is that what he said?
Yes. Well, that has come from the administration.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's 3 different agencies that have cut off checks. Everything from the Labor Department to Treasury Department and Human Labor Department of Labor. You see, there's a couple of them. Health and Human Services. They've all
Right.
cut off checks.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that comes right back to Yuma, Arizona, where we are paying for children that live in Mexico. So we, the people that live in Yuma, get to pay for that.
Yeah.
And all of the checks, they are not doing it. A child that is under
underage cannot go across the border without an adult or a guardian.
Oh, you mean our South border? Well, they do it every day, but I know what you're saying.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And we had illegals coming walking across the border. When they get there, they're handed a check. And if Carl or Russ walk across the border coming out of Mexico in the United States,
You get billed.
we go to jail. We spend about $5,000.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh no, there was a lot of injustice going on. Some of that's been stopped under the Trump
I
administration.
think quite a bit.
well, that's why, in my opinion, we put the man in there and is to straighten out all this BS that goes on. If we're going to play Monopoly, let's not have the banker cheat. Bankers and some that cheat real good. So
Well,
in the game of Monopoly in the United States, we're letting people just cheat it as bad as they can.
we need to look at this, not the bankers, but the caretakers. The caretakers are all our elected services that are supposed to keep us safe and protect us. And that would be the mayor, that would be the district attorney. That's going to be the commissioners, the county supervisors, and the people that are approving these checks, signing off on them. They're supposed to put the safeguards in place. And in Minnesota, the safeguard is we physically inspect these daycares twice a year. So they physically inspected them twice a year and didn't see a thing. And yet Nick Shirley saw 50 that were not doing what they said they were supposed to do.
Right.
And then the question I have for you then, what happened to these people that came and told you and me as a taxpayer, hey, there's not a problem in there. Them guys are doing a real good job. I depended on that man. Right?
Well,
I give my money. So he could tell me, and that's what the government is supposed to do. They're supposed to make sure the game is played fair.
well, that's
So what do they do to the person who's not playing the game fair?
that's yet to be determined. But I can tell you right now, Ash Patel's in there.
Yeah.
Pam Bondi's in there. We have Christy Nome is in there with Health and Human Services. They're all in there. They cut the checks off and they're walking around, knocking on doors, talking to people, inspecting. In fact, that the learning center that's spelled Learning Center, they changed the words, and then they hired some buses to bring kids in one day so they could get filmed having kids in there, and said this is the same every day. Of course, the neighbors are all out there saying, "Wow, we've never seen anybody in that parking lot before."
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I guess that goes back to we the people. You see something, say something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. And they have been. There's been whistleblowers. And that's what I mean.
Yeah.
The gatekeepers were corrupt. And the gatekeepers would be Tim Walz and on down. I mean, he controls it. He's the governor. And he's accepting graft and stuff. And he knows what's going on. And he says, well, we've been investigating. He's a liar. He just now hired special investigators and stuff. Now that the cows are all out of the barn and everything, he's hiring these people just for public opinion and to say that he's a good leader. But he did take a microphone though, and he says, I'm the governor and I'm responsible, but I'm also the guy that's going to fix it. I don't trust him.
Nah, how do you fix what you caused?
Well, and there's speculation, and this is strictly speculation, that he may be benefiting from it somehow. But that'll be Cash Patel and Bondi, all those guys that go in and check it out and take a look. But we know that Elon Omar, she went from a debt, a negative net worth, and now she just recently popped up at $30 million.
Yes.
In 1 year, in 2 years, it went from 65 to 30 million in 2 years. It went from 65 to 250 to 30 million in net worth. And now there's questions like, where'd that money come from?
Well,
Nancy Pelosi gave her stockbroker.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
No, well, it could be true.
Yeah, but it's probably true.
Yeah.
Because where did the money come from?
Well,
AOC, how much is that little gal worth? From a bartender to a millionaire?
I don't think she is, but I don't think she's as much as Omar.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But she could be. Because she's she's got a huge fund for political, that's not personal, political pools. She's collected more than Nancy in later years.
Right.
Yeah.
For
That's right.
campaign finance.
the last thing I want to say is I want to thank you, President Trump, for putting the lid on the cookie jar. And that's exactly what happened.
Well, I don't trust the lid yet because not everyone's conforming, but
Well,
look, the lid's on it. But
the lid's on it, but what happens is if you lift the lid and stick your hand in and take out a cookie, I tell you what, you're going to get your hands slapped.
yeah,
That's the way it goes. So as far as I'm concerned, President Trump did the right thing. He shut it off. He said, no more, guys. If you really need it, you come and see me. And if you can prove you need it, we'll give it to you.
Yeah.
But if you can't prove it, you ain't getting it. So,
thank you, man. Take care, buddy.
bye.
I'm looking up AOC. It's kind of hard to figure out. AOC just disclosed 5.7 million of new fundraising. But see, that's not her net worth.
No,
Fundraising is supposed to go into separate accounts.
it has value and can be used in a lot of ways to gain you prestige and influence, but it's not something that you're supposed to be able to, buy a new Cape Cod house or something.
A lot of these guys, they get these big political banks, where they got millions of dollars,
Campaign funds.
and then they hire their relatives.
Oh yeah, that's common. That's
and their husband to be their security guard, or something like that.
Yeah,
and they pay them tons of money for that kind of stuff.
that happens quite regularly.
And I don't know that that's breaking the law. It's just,
I don't think so. As long as it has to do, you can make a legitimate claim that it's a campaign expense.
and one of the interesting, they take that 5 million that they got in their campaign, and they do it advertising for their campaign, but they hire an advertising agency for 25% for placing the ads,
Right.
and that could be their son.
Yeah, daughter,
And-
wife, husband.
Yeah,
whatever.
and that's what Maxine Waters does.
Right.
Her daughter runs the ad agency, and the only ad money she takes care of is her mom's, and she gets this huge nut.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's one of the ways. Or you find somebody who wants to publish your book and give you a $20 million advance.
and that's the way to clean the money.
Yeah.
You don't give it directly to them; you buy their book.
Right.
And and people like Barack Obama, got $60 million for a book. They never sold enough books to do that.
Yeah,
ever.
and I think that was the case with Hillary, but I'm not sure. Some of her books had some popularity.
Did they? Yeah, but they pay them this tons of money. Like, okay, we're going to give you $60 million advance because your book's going to be great, and then they just take a loss on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be the executive made that decision, but in some quarters
Well,
it seems popular.
They might have made that decision because a law was passed and made them billions of dollars.
That could be, yes.
Correct. So kick back, 60 million, no big deal. Make sure that he gets a
Yeah, I have not been pleased. I mean, sometimes it seems like politicians are willing to spend $1,000 of taxpayers' money as long as they get $1 back.
Yeah.
It's
It does
not
seem like
efficient.
that.
It always seemed like we as taxpayers should be able to bribe them to cut
Look,
taxes.
every criminal. Look how many people have stole copper out of these,
Oh,
out
yeah.
of these pumps that these farmers have and stuff. Out in
Yeah,
the
and it
field,
costs tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage,
and they
and
get
they
a couple
get,
hundred bucks.
$100. They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. The farmers lose time. I think they get aggravated.
I was just reading about
Yeah.
somebody who in later age, 70 years old, joined the Peace Corps, and she went over to Africa, and the people in the village where she was at had to carry water from 2 miles away
Uh-huh.
by hand.
Got it.
That's how they got their
Typical.
water. And so she dug deep into her own funds and financed a well in the village so that the people could get water in the village, wouldn't have to carry it 2 miles.
Right.
And then all the other villages around that village said, well, why aren't you funding a well in my village? Why do you pay for them?
Because I live here.
And a couple months later, somebody stole the pumping mechanism and they went back to carrying water from 2 miles away.
Of course.
So don't expect gratitude
Well,
in a lot of these places.
yeah, and that's in private places where they don't have a good system.
Well, in this particular area, I think they were mostly Muslim, but they a lot of tribes see anybody outside the tribe as somebody if you can pull one over on them, that's great. You did the right thing.
We call that crabbing, and I learned that in the Chesapeake Bay out in Maryland. I'd go out with friends crabbing, and we'd put these wicker baskets on the ground on the floor of the boat, and then you start catching crabs, with a trout line or something. You pull a crab. You put one crab in that basket, it ain't gonna take him long. He pops right out of it. He can claw his way out of it. You put two crabs in there, they'll never make it because the other one will pull the other one down and not let it get out.
And that's
just don't want anyone to get ahead.
It just seems like the combination of Christianity and capitalism in the United States, and Britain, I would say, it was just like magical because you have the ethics, the Judeo-Christian ethics, combined with capitalism, and everybody starts being more productive.
Yeah.
The way that you get wealthy is you make wealth. That was kind of a new thing, 500 years ago. 300
and that's what Trump has been doing, is bringing manufacturing back to the States.
Making wealth, not taking wealth from somebody else.
And other countries have been doing that. They've been taking it away from us for years because we allowed them to.
Correct.
They would tariff us and then import cars to us at no real tariffs, nothing. But they would tariff our cars, so they would dominate.
Correct.
They would dominate.
Lopsided.
All lopsided. And Trump is straightening that out, and he's getting demonized about it.
But it's working. It appears to be actually working.
Yeah, but we haven't reaped any benefits huge yet. It's coming.
I don't know. The economy seems to be doing pretty well.
Better than expected.
Yes.
The rebound has been better than expected.
I think
it shocked a lot of these naysayers on the tariffs that were saying it's going to destroy us. We're going to be in a recession. We're not going to make it. And by the end of this year, it's going to be chaos. And they've had to come out and apologize and said they're working.
Correct.
They're working.
No, I think the economy is going to do really well in 2026.
Yeah. Hopefully well enough before the election.
Yes. That's an important thing.
And the way politics is, I guess, the left is going to be doing everything they can to make us stumble.
Which, it strikes me that wasn't always the case. It seems to be about I'd say ever since President Obama got elected, is the view on the left is it's more important to get elected than have the welfare of the country at heart.
And we know that from this last government shutdown.
Yeah.
Exactly. Chuck Schumer and all those guys, they got nothing for it, but they thought they could tarnish Trump, and it ended up tarnishing themselves.
I think that's the way it worked.
Yeah.
But they were successful in New Jersey, Virginia, and getting those elections, and maybe that was the real aim.
Maybe. They probably would have got those anyway.
Probably. They were, significantly.
They go out and pat themselves on the back.
Electoral advantages there.
Yeah, we won New York mayor. Yeah. Oh, well, it was 8-1 registered Democrats.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know that the shutdown really helped them that much.
I don't know. They sowed chaos, and at least some people believe that's the idea. If you make enough chaos in society, people will say it's Trump's fault, kick him out, get Democrats in.
Well, we got chaos right now in Minnesota, but it's not helping.
No, I don't think so. Just because that's the theory doesn't mean it works.
And this thing is not going to wrap up in a year.
No,
it's going to take at least a year to figure out how deep it is.
Correct. I think so.
Because it's gone on for a long time. There's a lot of players in foreign countries. A lot of this money has gone overseas,
and there's going to be a considerable attempt to claw back what you can.
Yeah,
but when you have money going to Somalia, it's hard to get it back.
Oh yeah. And initially, it's going to be cut off. That's what they've done right now. Is cut off more money going. But now the investigation, they've got great ways to track everything that's been transferred. They've got great ways to track everything.
Right.
It's going to be found out where it went. Doesn't mean we're going to get it back.
We have some leverage, like with the Arab Emirates, and some of this money may be going to banks that are controlled by allies of ours that might say, well, that wasn't legitimate. You have to give some of it back.
But you notice there hasn't been a lot of Somali pirates in the news.
I haven't heard of them lately.
Maybe they found a better gig in Minnesota.
That probably does pay a bunch.
We'll get right back.
Hey, I'm Mike Sater. My dad passed away at the age of 63 out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Mike.
To be a part of Russ's show, call 928-344-5258. That's 928-344-5258.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? I think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah. Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Mike Rowe. That's pound 250, Mike Rowe.
There's a man in D.C.
Hey, I'm Patrick to keep yelling. You, Russ, right with you. It's Wednesday morning, 6:50. Something I've got to tell you. Although I think you all know it's New Year's Eve morning, New Year's Eve, New Year's Eve day morning. I know a lot. The dog has big blood. It's got to start barking. Dean. I just mentioned it, Dean. It's New Year's Eve morning. We haven't even mentioned that.
Yeah, well, it
Yeah,
is. We're only a few hours away from 2026.
That's right. Yeah, I'll remember that. Usually in the new year, I'll screw up once or twice.
Oh, yes.
I mean, when I write a date
I have
down,
to be very careful when I write checks a few days after the new
I don't
year.
even know what to.
Well, some people still carry cash.
I have a checking account, and everything is
Digital, huh?
digital transfers. But you're a security guy. You're not going to do that as much as I.
Well, I have to welcome our new digital overlords. Because they're definitely in charge. And, there's no privacy anymore. Very little. You have to work really hard to have privacy anymore.
No, but I use a credit card, cash, or transfer. Occasionally, you have to write a check. And I forget why, but I do have some counter checks.
Sure.
I don't think I've had to do one in a few years, but I had to go get it for something. It was
Yeah, well, I just closed down one of my accounts because I hadn't used it for several years, and it was like $15. And I said, "It's silly, to have this thing going with $15 in it."
They start fining you until it comes in.
They will. I mean, and I had to do some work they have special senior discount or something. I said, "I'm not using this account. There's no reason to keep it," so I closed it down.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the new year, and I want to mention the Second Amendment news because in the big, beautiful bill, there were reforms of the National Firearms Act. And there were 5 categories of things that required you to pay taxes in order to own them: machine guns, destructive devices, short barrel rifles, short barrel shotguns, silencers or suppressors, and I should say 6. There's this any other weapon, sort of a catch-all of anything that was sort of concealable but wasn't a conventional pistol. And in the big beautiful bill, they did away with the taxes on all of them except for machine guns and destructive devices. And the reason that had previously been given, and there's several Supreme Court decisions on it, to justify these infringements on the Second Amendment was, well, it was a tax bill. It wasn't a regulation. The regulations requiring registration and photographs and fingerprints and all that were just to make sure the tax was paid. I said Supreme Court decisions on it. Well, now they did away with the taxes. So there's now lawsuits saying, well, if you did away with the taxes, if there's no tax,
Then
you don't need the registration, you don't need the fingerprints, you don't need all this other stuff.
because that was part of the
Because
tax.
the only rationale for it was to keep track of the taxes.
Okay.
And although, everybody understood that the purpose of the taxes was to prevent people from buying machine guns and silencers.
It was a rouge.
It was a ruse. But they said, well, just because you have a regulatory function that's part of it, that doesn't, it's still under the taxing power. I think all that will not hold up under the Supreme Court. But whether it'll get to the Supreme Court, I don't know. But anyway, as of tomorrow, after midnight, You won't have to pay taxes to purchase a silencer or a short barrel rifle or shotgun or any other weapon. And that is a big change. And the tax for most of those was $200, which was more than some of them cost. And back when that tax was put into effect in 1934, it was the equivalent of about $4,000. It prohibited nearly everybody from actually having those items, which was the purpose. But now inflation has withered away that cost, and more people. There's now about somewhere close to 5 million silencers legally registered in the U.S.
That's a
now.
lot.
It is. So you can't say they're not in common use. And there's going to be a huge influx of more people purchasing now that you don't have to pay a $200 tax.
I think where they mostly use silencers, suppressors, and all is movies.
Well, not anymore. It used to be that they were used in movies primarily, but now they have so much health benefits. They protect your hearing much better than anything else. They're great for hunting because you don't want to really wear earmuffs while you're out hunting. You want to be able to hear if there's a bird or a beast that you're hunting. You want to be able to hear them. And
so I like to sleep late, and I don't want to hear all that.
Well, and that's the other thing. It has wonderful. It prevents a lot of noise pollution. Yeah. Most people that live close to somebody, not most. There are some people that find distant gunshots to be offensive, right. And so they try to shut down ranges. Well, if people are able to use suppressors and silencers to reduce the noise by like maybe 90%, then the range noise is not as offensive as it used to be.
It's not going to reach the distance either. It's
right, exactly.
It's going to be confined.
So I expect a big jump up in applications to purchase.
There'll still be an application.
That's part of what I was saying. They're keeping the process to register them, require a photograph from you, require fingerprints
for silencer or suppressor.
So, but I expect after the first year, I'll probably put in a couple applications to see what happens.
I have some firearms. I don't think I have a barrel that's threaded. Is that something you could just go buy a new barrel that's threaded?
Some items you can just buy a new barrel, but it's relatively inexpensive for a manufacturer to thread the barrel as part of the manufacturing process. It might cost another couple of dollars, $5, something like that. But if you do it afterwards, it'll probably cost you $100. So what we're going to see, we're already seeing it, is more and more manufacturers are going to be offering models with threaded barrels, and they will become more popular. Already it's happening. I mean, I just won't buy a 22 that doesn't have a threaded barrel anymore. It's so much. Once you use a suppressor with a 22 rimfire long rifle, it is so much more pleasant. You don't have the report to deal with. It's just a much nicer experience.
It does add weight or something to the.
It does add a little weight to the end of the barrel,
but nothing.
Well, that's the other thing is that we have these short barrel rifles, which are essentially, a barrel less than 16 inches. And there were rifles that were made with 14-inch barrels before, even 12-inch, 10-inch barrels before the National Firearms Act went into effect. And they have advantages. They're compact. But if you combine, say, a 10-inch barrel with a 6-inch suppressor, it doesn't weigh any more than a 16-inch barrel.
Right.
And so you have this roughly the same weight as you would have without
something like an M4 though. Is that effective with suppressors?
Oh yeah, we are adopting more and more silencers for the military all the time. And a couple of years ago, we outfitted a whole Marine battalion, I think it was. I don't remember writing it up with suppressors. They even had suppressors for their 50 caliber machine guns, which.
What?
They are required to be very large.
Yes.
A suppressor on that is something like, maybe a couple 5-gallon buckets or something. I mean, it's huge.
Well, those are usually, those are mounted on.
Right. And the other thing is that it's effective, one, because it reduces your signature. Mm-hmm. So the enemy can't tell where you are as easily.
Right.
And it's much easier to communicate. If you ever tried to communicate with somebody when there's a lot of gunfire going on, well, all that noise overrides your voice, so communication becomes better. There's a lot of military advantages, and if you look at any of the footage from the Ukraine war, you'll see a lot of people that their rifles have suppressors on.
Yeah, I like that. I probably practice
You might consider putting in an application. I mean, the price has gone down by $200 because of the tax,
Mm.
and because so it's a less expensive. What I am particularly going to be interested in is how they handle people who make their own suppressors because they aren't hard to make. I mean, I made one, or I helped make one, I should say, when I was down in Panama 30 years ago, and different regime.
Yeah, we got to take a break. I'll get back. I don't want to be cut off again. I have that mistake occasionally. I'll be right
There's a man that you see.
This is News Talk 560 KBLU Yuma. Seeing it up, down under. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Yes, in Australia. When the clock struck midnight an hour ago, it just turned 2026 now. In other parts of Australia, the new year is 3 hours old in New Zealand. The biggest celebration tonight in the U.S. will be in New York City, where Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch says there are no known threats, but they'll have a lot of security in Times Square.
Assets that you will see and others that you will not see.
And there'll be something new after the ball drops at midnight and the confetti showers the crowd. 12:04, and take the ball back up. We see it turns into red, white, and blue, and then we drop it again, kick off the 250th birthday of the United States of America. Fox's Adam Clark. Minnesota is losing some funding. The Trump administration's frozen all child care payments to the state amid a federal investigation into multi-billion-dollar fraud allegations. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt just told Fox.
The Department of Justice, as we speak, is continuing to execute search warrants and subpoenas. People will be in handcuffs as a result of the fraud that Governor has allowed to occur for many, many years.
Now, Tim Walz, Minnesota's Democratic governor, who was Kamala Harris's VP running mate in the 2024 election, says the Trump administration is politicizing the issue, adding for tracking down on fraudsters for years. Now, a Kilmar Abrego Garcia update, the most infamous illegal immigrant deported and returned and charged in human trafficking. In a court filing, the government says ICE does not plan to take him back into custody as long as the judge's order preventing that remains in place. This was the second major development in the case of Salvadoran Tuesday. Earlier in the day, an unsealed order showed that the Justice Department considered Abrego Garcia's indictment a top priority, but only after he was mistakenly deported and then returned to the U.S. Fox's Kevin Uretsky. We had a drop last week in first-time jobless claims. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
At Audion Hearing, our mission is simple: to make better hearing affordable for everyone. We're proud to offer high-quality, rechargeable hearing aids starting at just $98. Clear, comfortable, and ready to use right out of the box. And here's a study worth hearing. Research shows that wearing hearing aids can reduce your risk of dementia by up to 61%. Join over 1 million happy customers and hear the difference today by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com. Wesley Financial Group is the law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-486-9600. That's 800-486-9600.
From the News 11 Information Desk, I'm Gina Antonetta. A 12-year-old boy could be facing some serious charges over threats made to a youth soccer league. The Yuma Police Department says the boy was accidentally added to a group chat for the Yuma Youth Soccer Association on Monday afternoon, where he made a threat. Out of precaution, police added extra security at Croc Athletic Sports Complex near Desert Sun Drive and South Avenue A. Meanwhile, the league canceled other practices and activities. The boy admitted to police that he sent a message as a joke. YPD would like to use this as a warning. Threats like this are always taken seriously and not a joke. The case was sent over to the Yuma County Juvenile Justice Center to see if any charges will be filed against the boy. Catch us on the TV side on News 11 every weekday at 5, 6, and 10 p.m. for your latest local news, weather, and sports.
There's a man in D.C.
AM 560 KBLU, Russ Clark with you. Dean's here.
Yeah, I'll finish up that Panama story.
Yeah.
So, one of my best friends in Panama was a hunter, but hunting was illegal in Panama. The Smithsonian Institution had a lot of influence there, and they just made all hunting illegal. And so he was a poacher, and he showed me how to make an effective silencer for his 22 single-shot rifle that he had acquired some way or another. And it was using 22 shorts, which are subsonic. It was very quiet. We were firing into like a sandbank that was maybe 10 or 15 feet away, and the loudest sound you could hear was the bullet hitting the sandbank.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and he used it quite effectively, but because it was a single shot, it worked. But if it would have been a repeater, it'd been more of a problem because you had to make sure that it was lined up properly for every shot, because it used like a hose clamp to attach it to the end of a barrel.
Really homemade.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it looked like something made in Arkansas.
Well, like I said, I helped him make it. It was not hard to make.
Let's take a phone call. You're on the air.
Good morning, Russ. This is Veteran Dave.
Hey, Dave. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, just came back from a trip out there in Anaheim and back in Yuma, and just wanted to call you to let you know that we're going to have our New Year's Eve party at the VFW 8242 today. We're going to have a pop. We will have live music. We'll be from 5 to 9, because we're going to cut it short because, people get home in time. So we're going to celebrate East Coast time.
Okay.
So we're going to have festivities. It's $10 with live music included and all the party stuff. And we just let the public know that they want to come and join us for New Year's.
So you'll let the public come and join the veterans?
Yes, of course.
All
of
right.
course. Yeah. Everyone's welcome. You can be our guests, and we'll have some live music if you want a place to.
Are you singing, Dave?
No, because the band will be singing. No, we have karaoke on Wednesdays.
Oh, you do have karaoke.
Yeah. And
Remind me to stay away.
Yeah, and then they have. You can come in, and Dean's been there. Dean was there for Thanksgiving.
I understand. Yeah.
And like I said, we will have festivities. And yesterday I was the bingo caller. We have bingo on Tuesdays and Saturdays from 1 to 4. So, we just want to let people know. And since you guys are on the topic of Minnesota, earlier this summer, I went to Minnesota to go visit, take my wife shopping at the Mall of America. And my son lives out there in Minneapolis, and he got a job out there. But one of the things I noticed about Minnesota, they don't enforce traffic violations. I saw vehicles that had expired tags of 3 years. And I started asking and found out that they don't enforce those laws. So you can basically drive around Minnesota with expired tags. Any violations, your tail light out, whatever, and they just don't bother.
What?
And they don't bother to make traffic stops. They basically, the police just answer calls, but there's no active police work as far as that. That was when I was a cop. And I was, I retired as a police sergeant. That was our probable cause to pull people over. Even if your windshield wipers weren't working, we can have probable cause to pull you over, and from there we can run you. And you have a warrant.
Right.
If suspected that you might have drugs in the vehicle, we bring out a canine. Of course, get consent to search. If you didn't get consent, then we had to call a judge, a telephonic warrant, if we felt that the vehicle did have drugs. But it just kept people on their toes, knowing, hey, if you got expired tags or tinted windows to a certain degree, we had probable cause. But now, what I saw in Minnesota, and then just the Somalis walking around, and all the drug usage, because I went to the downtown VFW there in Minnesota, Minneapolis, and the people, there's just no more enforcement, no nothing, no. It's just like a lawless liberal state, and
Wow.
it was just shocking to see that. And the Mall of America was nice, but still, just to know that they don't enforce the laws. Now with this fraud, with the daycare centers and stuff, it's a third world country basically.
That's going to catch up with them, though. I mean, eventually they're going to come Detroit.
Yes, they are. And we, like I said, when I get back here to you, I thank the Lord that we have law enforcement here. From ADOT to AWC to our troopers to
Right.
our YPD. We have so much law enforcement out here that something goes wrong, you're going to have agencies coming out left and right here in Yuma. And military police will help out. Everything. So we just, thank the Lord that we live in Yuma here,
Yeah.
where they still enforce laws and they care about other citizens. But
Now,
Minnesota, no,
I
no
got
way.
I got to ask: is your son going to vote for Tim Walz this upcoming election?
No, of course not. Of course not. I mean, who would? This guy's a clown. But so he's a clown. And like I said, we went out there, and it was just stuff that I saw out there. It's just a horrendous place to be, and we have to hope that those people do get, and he gets removed from office. Of course, he's a liberal, and you can tell. But anyway, like I said, VFW tonight. You're all welcome, and we'll hopefully see you tonight. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Take care, Dave. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And I just want to say that 8242, that's on the way to YPG. It's got that tank outside.
Yeah.
You can't
And I
miss
was there for Thanksgiving, and I talked to Veteran Day. Very impressive guy.
He's a great guy.
He really is. I mean, and he's been there and done that. So
and now he's on the board over the elementary school board, and they're just doing great things. Him and Jeff Stoner. That's what I was thinking of. Jeff Stoner. The two of them got elected at the same time as the conservative group that's going to stop some of the nonsense, and they have. They've gotten in there. They're community activists. They want to get involved. They want to help. They want to help kids, and they do.
Now, when he was talking about that there's no enforcement in Minnesota, I think it's probably much less enforcement in the Twin Cities area, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
That's where
because
it was.
I recall just recently there was a court case there where a young man had built a firearm at home, which is not illegal.
No.
And
it's a ghost gun.
Yeah, that's what they call it. But it's been we've had those type of firearms since the Republic was founded and before.
Yep.
And he was firing at a range. I think it was on his own property, or his father's property, perhaps the family property. And somebody came out to investigate. Oh no, he had an accident. That's what it was, a car accident. And he said, I've got this gun in the car, or whatever. And the trooper looked at it and said, there's no serial number on this thing. And they charged him with having an unregistered gun because the Minnesota had passed a law saying that you have to have a serial number on it or something like that.
Sure.
And he fought it in the courts, and eventually the law was struck down by, I think, the Supreme Court of Minnesota. But I'm saying there's something like that where there's no victim involved. It's not even really illegal.
But how much did that cost him? Or was he able to get some help through some?
That's a good question. I think that he had one of the gun rights groups, and I hesitate to mention which one because I'll probably get it wrong. Helped him out, and they won. But it took years.
Yeah, and it's costly. I mean, it's going to get through the system and all.
You're not going to enforce basic traffic laws, but you're going to go after this guy because you considered a gun infraction where nobody was harmed.
Oh man, I see that makes sense in these liberal cities because they definitely have agenda.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the person, was it Francis? Somebody called it anarcho-tyranny, where you go after law-abiding people for the least infraction, but you don't go after criminals because that's dangerous.
David Hanson.
Victor David
Hanson talks a lot about that in California because he's a owner of property in a vineyard or something, and he does a lot. And he's got migrants nearby that break every rule in the book, and
they don't get any enforcement. But he gets
enforcement for little nitpicky things. And he says, "Well, why don't you go down the street?" He says, "Oh no, we're not allowed to go down there. We don't do that." And they don't ever mess with those guys.
Yeah, well, I had a close friend of mine whose mother invested in some property, and this was quite a few years ago, about 40 years ago or more. And there was a little strip of land and she didn't bother even trying to buy it because it was too small to be zoned for anybody to build on.
Right.
It was only like 30 or 40 feet wide, and a long, thin strip next to her property. Well, suddenly somebody builds a bunch of housing for mostly it seemed illegals, and she went and complained. Not your business.
Even though it's not legal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, apparently that happens in California with regularity, according to Victor David Hansen.
Yeah, at least in the inner inland empire, in the inner valleys. And
there's two different rules. I mean, if you're a regular citizen, works and pays taxes, does all that, very strict enforcement of the rules. And if you're illegal, particularly homeless, whatever, no enforcement at all.
Or very little anyway.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And he's complained about it, but to deaf ears.
Right. Now, I do have a Victor Davis Hansen story because I regularly listen to him because he is a brilliant mind.
Yeah.
And it turns out that about 30 years ago, he had to protect his family with a shotgun.
Oh, no.
And his grandfather had purchased this shotgun, and he mentions a Winchester. And from what he tells about it, I mean, he's not a gun expert. He's not a subject matter expert on firearms like I am. And I said, oh, yeah, okay, this is a model 1897 Winchester because of the way he described it. And he had to use it because they had a couple of gangbangers that were throwing rocks at an upper window in his house. His young son, somebody's throwing rocks and yelling, and they demanded they be let in or they would harm his family and him. And he had a shotgun, and he faced them down and forced them to go out to their car, and they had them push the car because they'd hidden it in one of his groves down the road a quarter mile. And 30 minutes after he had forced them off the property and tossed their car keys into one of the groves, the police showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, officially, they told me I shouldn't have done that. Unofficially, they said, yeah, you did the right thing. I've heard of this many times where police will say, well, I have to tell you that you shouldn't have done that. But I'll tell you, you really did the right thing, buddy. That's what you should have done.
Wow.
And he's only telling it now because it's 30 years after the event and it's all over. There's no more prosecution or anything.
But he was in danger of being...
Oh, definitely. He said, I don't know what would have happened. They might have killed all of us. They had a firearm.
But I mean, he was in danger of the police.
Yes. Yes.
No, I mean, he was in danger of the thugs, but in danger of the police.
And so he said, I made up my mind at that time I would never denigrate the Second Amendment. And I might be misquoting a little bit, and he hasn't. But that's, the person who gets mugged becomes more conservative.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing that probably in
California. I think the country's getting mugged right now. We just didn't know what's going on.
That's right.
The whole country.
Oh, the friend I was talking about that had the property with the zoning that basically destroyed the value of her land.
Mm-hmm.
She was able to get a concealed carry permit at the time because she worked in the sheriff's office and it wasn't a problem. And now she probably could get one again. But in between, there was a long period where they just didn't give them out. It was May issue, and they didn't. Unless you were politically connected, you couldn't get one.
I know you follow Supreme Court a lot, and they justifiably because they've had a lot of rulings on Second Amendment.
A lot of firearms issues in the last couple of years.
But this is Trump's second term, and he's got 3 years left. And there is a few conservatives on that Supreme Court right now that are getting somewhat close to possibly retiring.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks like Trump may have another 1 or 2 appointments at some point, and maybe to replace conservatives. I don't know. Sotomayor has been known to be saying that she's frustrated and doesn't like being a minority, and that she's not. And I think she has some health issues. But I think
she has some health issues. It's really it's hard to predict this stuff.
Yeah, it's very hard. Well,
and my favorites on the court are Thomas and Alito.
Thomas is one of that's getting that retirement.
He is. He's older, but he's done wonderful things. He's just this brilliant justice on the Supreme Court. And Alito is close second.
Right. And those are the two I'm thinking of.
And so, there are some up-and-comers. There's one in the Ninth Circuit, Van Dyke, that I'm thinking of there. And there are other names I've heard that don't come to mind right away. I know about some about Van Dyke because heavily involved in a case I've written extensively about.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he did very well. And he's a gun guy. I mean, he is, I think he's from Montana. And he did a video showing in dissent of a decision that the 3-judge panel he was on made or it might have been en banc, and saying, "Look, your decision doesn't make any sense. Here's these guns. Here's why your decision doesn't make any sense. Guns work this way." It was a great video. He did a really good job of it.
Yeah.
And I think he's on the short list as a possible Supreme Court justice.
Well, and the reason I bring it up, you remember the Democrats trying to get Ginsburg to back down when they had opportunities to replace her with another liberal, and she didn't do it. And then, of course,
Right.
Trump ended up replacing her seat.
Right.
As
And
a result,
it's a
because she passed.
huge thing. Yeah.
Oh, they were angry about it.
Right. And Trump pushed really hard. I give him a lot of credit. A lot of other presidents wouldn't have insisted that they appoint that justice before the end of their term. It was right at the end of his first term, if you recall.
I don't remember the date. No.
And he pushed really hard. And I think the justice we got was Barrett. At the
Okay, Amy
last
Barrett.
one.
Yeah. And
she's been pretty good.
And who was it? I mean, Trump was able to appoint one at the beginning of his term because it was blocked.
Right.
And Merrick Garland was brought out.
McDonald, the Supreme Court. No, I mean the Senate leader.
He blocked it.
And he blocked it.
Yeah.
And it's been done before. It turned out it's not that uncommon.
And he blocked it for a few months, and
right.
And now it angered the left, but that was like a Joe Biden thing. You know, even when he was senator, he said, "No, the last time we shouldn't do it." No, you know, he was in favor of that.
Exactly.
And he wasn't in favor of it then, but it was
correct.
It was his ox getting gored. But I know Trump's going to be looking at that in the next couple of years.
I'm sure he will be. And
I think Thomas smart enough not to be Ginsburg on that.
I think so. I mean, he's just been brilliant, and he was when he was in college, he was a radical black socialist.
Yeah,
and he just saw the light because he realized he measured it against reality and says these policies don't work. So that turned him into more of a conservative.
Do you know how old Thomas is? He was born in 48.
So he'd be 76.
Yeah. So he'll be 80 by the time, or close to 80 by the time Trump gets out of office.
Right. He's a remarkable guy.
He's bright. I really like listening to him. But he's getting to the point that, like, look.
If anybody wants to learn about him, I highly recommend a book called My Grandfather's Son, I believe it is. Written by Thomas. It's a biography. Very well done.
Alito's 75.
Yeah.
So the two of them I know are being looked at.
Yeah, so they're only a year apart in age.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing that's going to happen today.
Probably not.
You know, Trump's got 3 years.
But this is another question. If I don't think the Senate is going to flip, so I don't think the Senate is going to go Democrat. But if it did, Trump might not be able to get appointments through.
I guess I'll have to deal with that.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think it's going to. I think we're going to see this phenomena that we saw for years, where you'd elect Democrat senators in what were red states, and you go, "Why are they electing a Democratic senator?"
But Robert's 70.
Yeah,
he doesn't look it.
No,
he doesn't look 70, but he is.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Roberts, but he hasn't been horrible,
Sotomayor,
except for maybe Obamacare.
Sotomayor is 71.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of age there with Trump having 3 years left, but I don't remember how old Ginsburg was, but she was in her 80s.
In the 80s, 84, I think. 83, 84, around there.
Kagan's young, only 65.
Yeah.
Gorsuch like 62 or 63, something like that. Kavanaugh, he was born in 65, so he's not a baby.
No, so it's 35, it's about 58, 59.
And then, let me see, Amy's born in 72. She is the baby.
Yeah.
So she's only like 52. Well, and I don't even think about Brown, Ketanji Brown. I don't see her as an intellectual.
She's a reliably ideological leftist. That's the way I describe her.
She's only 55.
Yeah.
Yeah. And very much an activist.
Very much so.
I don't even pay attention to her.
Well, it's
Isn't
kind
that
of
weird?
interesting. It's almost fun to listen
I
to
forget that she's
reader
there.
arguments because you go, wait a minute, this is not the way you're supposed to decide cases. I mean,
She decides them on emotion, I think.
well, she decides them on what she wants,
Yeah.
you know, and that's progressives have basically preached that for decades. So I would say this is the first majority originalist court we've had in probably 70 years. Of course, it's been around since
Oh, the left hates it.
2020. Yeah.
They call it activism if you
Yeah,
it's the opposite.
If you actually interpret the Constitution the way it was meant to be understood when it was written, oh, that's activism. Yeah,
Kadani Brown has actually made comments that the court's too literal.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. And
Too
of course,
literal? What do you mean too literal?
if you have
That's-
a non-literal Constitution, it doesn't mean anything. You make it mean whatever you want it to mean at the time.
Right. Well, that's what she wants.
Exactly.
You know, that we can set in judgment based on our feelings instead of based on the documentation.
Well, not always feelings. It's really ideology. What advances the revolution?
To me, that's the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You know, the ideology.
But I mean, if you have a set of principles that you think people with more money should give money to people who have less money, you know, if property should not be valued, there should be no private property. You know, those are principles that often hurt people, but you know, the left doesn't have a problem with hurting people if it advances the ideology.
Well, she's in favor of racism as long as it helps some races.
Yeah, exactly. Correct.
That's weird, but I don't think the Supreme Court's complexion is going to change. I mean, direction and whatever.
I don't think it will.
And Trump may set it up for the future if we have a few retirees, so that it doesn't change for many years.
Right. And of course, I think there's a good chance.
By complexion, I didn't mean skin color.
Right. I think there's a good chance that the Trumpian party will be able to nominate Supreme Court justices in the term after Trump, because I think there's a good chance that you'll get a Trumpian candidate elected in 28.
Yeah. I got right now there is a good chance. We'll see if the 3 years are way far off.
Yeah.
Edward has sent me. He sent this to me last night. Interesting comment, and he follows more international news than I do for sure. And he said the Libyan media is reporting via the BBC that the Minnesota fraud videos are fake.
Yeah, I heard that. I haven't seen it. I've seen people make the claim.
I didn't even know that.
I haven't seen.
He said they were recorded when the centers were closed. Of course, that is the claim of some of the owners. They said, well, we were closed because we don't open until 2 o'clock in the afternoon for daycare. I was like,
yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's funny because I made a comment. Somebody said, well, they just say it was a Somali holiday.
Maybe. Let me take a phone call first. You're on the air.
Somali.
You're a Somali. Hey, Shmuel, what's going on? What's going on, sir?
How you doing, gentlemen? How you doing?
You're doing better than expected.
I'm sick of hearing about the Somali.
You're going to keep hearing about it because it's going to be in the news for a year, my friend.
All they have to do, I mean, let's not make this rocket science, aeronautics. Check the utility bills on every one of those daycares for water use.
Oh, see if they flush the toilet.
Exactly.
That's funny. That's probably common sense, though.
That's a good idea.
I'm surprised you came up with it.
Thank you. Check the utility bills on the buildings, and it'll tell you. I mean, you can't keep kids in a building 5 minutes and run into the bathroom.
Well, some of these buildings don't have bathrooms, and they're not even an actual space. They're just an address.
Yeah. And some of the buildings have 2 daycares in them. 2 separate, complete separately daycares. Yeah.
Healthcare is that violations.
Fire code
violations. But like I said, check the utilities and you'll find out real quick. I don't know why they need to have rocket science.
I think those are great ideas. Send the fire people in there to check the code, check in OSHA to make sure they have adequate
Well, it's all
bathrooms.
supposed to be done before you get a license.
Well, according to the supervisor, they say they have their state agencies double check those every 6 months.
Well, okay.
Right.
Yeah, if they check them every 6 months, I'm sure they check see if there's a bathroom.
I'm sure that you have to have so many bathrooms for so many kids.
Yeah, some of them we know have bathrooms. Some of them are like people were in them in their office space or something, but they just
Right.
didn't have any kids.
Does a bucket count?
In Somalia, maybe.
I was going to say that's a luxury in a lot of Somalia.
Hey,
Yeah.
listen to this. I'll tell you what happened.
What?
When I lived in Arlington, North Arlington, Virginia,
Yeah.
there was aliens coming into the United States, and they were put in homes right there in North Arlington.
Uh-huh.
3 of the homes had fire pits dug in the living room to cook on.
No.
Yes, Russ.
Yeah.
North
I believe you.
Arlington.
Well, in northern Wisconsin, when a bunch of houses were built on the reservation, some of the windows got broke out in the middle of winter because you didn't want to have to chop up logs to feed into the wood stove. You just poked the log in through the window and into the wood stove and just fed in more log as it burned, because that's the way.
That was in Wisconsin?
Yeah, northern Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Near
yeah.
Hayward.
Not
On the local reservation. That was many decades ago, so it's kind of
stupid.
a story. But when people don't have to pay for things, they don't take care of them.
Well, we've seen that from these luxury hotels where they put the immigrants. The bills for damage have been outrageous, millions of dollars.
Right.
And
But I'll be serious. I'm not pulling your leg. It was known fact in North Arlington, one of the richest parts of the county.
Wow.
They were busted up to the living room floor, building fires.
I know you were in construction. Did you have to go clean that mess up, or did you?
No, I was living right up the street from it.
Well, did you get invited over for a barbecue?
Well, you wonder what happens to the smoke. The smoke's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, that's why the window had to be knocked out.
Yeah. No, all the pets started
disappearing.
All the
You mean
pets-
like
They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs.
Exactly.
That's a troll
People's
quote.
pets. I'm serious, man. The pets started gone.
Yeah.
And people think that's a joke, but it's not a joke. It's serious.
When they mentioned that a year ago or so, the left went crazy. Racist. It's not happening. Apparently it was. Even some of the ducks in the local pond were
Yeah.
Goody.
harvested. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
ducks and
eating,
geese are
man.
good to eat.
Well,
But it's gonna become everywhere. I'm serious. They may clean it up there in Chirac and all, but it's going to spread across the country.
Well, apparently Ohio is already saying that they have the same problem, maybe not at that scale. But you've got representatives that are calling and asking for federal intervention, like come here too, because I know we got problems. That's much different than Walton saying, no, I got this. He throws his jazz hands up and says, I got this. We'll investigate it ourselves. I've hired a Somalia crew to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
They can speak the language, so they can do a really good investigation.
Yeah.
Walsh and Newsom should be perk walked and locked up.
Not going to happen. We need to keep them around for entertainment.
Well, they're going to be the dream team for 2028.
And look, those local people elected them. They need to stay there until the local people figure it out. They need to live with it.
Well,
that's presuming the elections are on the up and up.
When they don't have radio stations like yours,
Yeah.
their voice is silent.
I think if I was in Minneapolis, every Somalian would be listening.
Well, or you wouldn't get a license or whatever.
But I just want to let people know that this is nothing new. I mean, even when people came from, we shipped them in here. Johnson brought them in here from Vietnam.
No.
We had problems with them in Arlington, and
because we don't try to integrate. We don't try to assimilate and all that kind of stuff. And that used to be a thing. That used to be something that was required. That's why the border was shut down for how long during Ike and all that stuff?
Oh, for 20 years.
20 years it was shut down. We just couldn't take anymore. We needed to assimilate and become unified. And right now we're tribal.
Right. Well, remember when you went to D.C. and Arlington, stayed in Arlington?
Sure.
On Wilson Boulevard, which became Little Phnom Penh, all the, like Tom McCann and all the old stores that were on that strip of road, Wilson Boulevard and all, went from being, you couldn't read any of it because it's all in Vietnamese.
Oh, really?
And yeah, everything. Every store on there was written in a foreign language.
Not now.
Well, I don't know. I haven't been there in 12 years.
I guess I could check it. I mean, I'm guessing it's not, but I don't know.
I told some of the places for you to go and check out when you were there, but I know you had a schedule. And
I
couldn't,
could make it over to Good Guys. But I appreciate the suggestion.
What I always thought was Good Guys was right under the National Cathedral. You just walk that door, look to your right, and the National Cathedral was right there.
Oh my God. I didn't know.
But anyway, yeah, like I said, they were busting out floors in North Arlington and cooking on them and stuff. They won't assimilate.
Well, and that's what we need to really evaluate as a country. And I think the left has already evaluated and said, we like it tribal.
I think so, because that's how they gather the votes for.
Yeah. We like it tribal, and we like to hide behind it, and we got racism going on.
You're being racist.
Yeah.
Quit it, guys.
I know. Well, be good.
All right.
Happy New Year.
Too.
Bye-bye. Yeah, see, I hung up on before he said Happy New Year back,
I inferred that was coming.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
That's why I hung it up. Edward, I'm going to get back to the Libyan media. Libyan media is reporting that the Minnesota fraud videos are fake. And they're doing that through the BBC. The BBC's still doing that, even though they're being sued for like, what, $1 trillion or something? I don't know.
Yeah, $1 billion, I think, by Trump, where they faked his comments.
Which was an obvious, like...
Yeah, I mean, it was very clear. Very
blatant, we don't want you as president.
Yeah, I mean, and so he's got a case there.
Well, the Libyans saying that it's all fake, that everything that Shirley did was fake. And they said they interviewed many parents who have sworn statements that their children go every day to the facility. Yeah, sworn statements from parents that are uncles and relatives of probably the center. But there is also an unnamed source who claims that Nick Shirley has stated that he's going to make up this video for fame and has a chance to meet Trump. So that's the story that they're doing over there. And
well, you can always make a plausible story if you're willing to lie enough.
Yeah. Edward's interested to see if, he says people are interested to see if it catches on in the United States. I believe they're testing it in Europe and North Africa, see how it plays. Those kinds of things where you just completely twist everything, propagandize it, and hide it. And they've already got people in Minneapolis that are adjusting real quickly for the press. They bust in some kids and stuff, so they're not backing off. Like, we make our living doing this. You're not going to interfere.
Well, I recall that there were some text messages intercepted on one of the fraud cases that they're already pursuing. And it was a couple of, I think, 25-year-old Somalis. And one of them said to the other, "You're going to be the richest 25-year-old Somali in existence."
Yeah, I remember that. I remember reading that. Yeah.
And when you're just stealing money and nobody seems to care, it's how hard can you work at stealing it?
It's a hard life.
Yeah, they were jetting around first class.
Well, apparently they've invested in a lot of properties overseas and stuff, in mansions and things like that.
Yeah, well, you see, that's a smart thing to do if you're stealing money. It's harder to get back.
Right. But apparently it's traceable, but that doesn't mean that it's recoverable.
In today's monetary system, it's hard to hide money.
Yeah.
I mean, people who make a living at it, like the Nigerian fraudsters and stuff, they have it where they immediately take it out of one account and put it into another that has no connection to the first. Yeah. And that account may be in Hong Kong or, Kuwait or wherever.
Well, the Bidens did a very good job of it. And
and
Edwards explained to it. Edward uses it in his business, not for illegal purposes, but so that they just can't track it back to who owns things. And he likes to stay anonymous and stuff. But multiple
harder and harder to do.
Multiple LLCs, multiple bank accounts, multiple movements all over the place. And that's what the Bidens have done.
Yes.
With a lot of money, is bouncing it all around.
Yeah, I recall there was some number put out how many LLCs they had, 50 or something like that.
Which nobody does that unless there's a rational reason.
Well, there are reasons. I mean, I had several LLCs because I wanted the corporate veil to protect the properties I had.
Correct. And I had more when I owned the business. I had LLCs for the airplane, and
Sure.
or that was actually a corporation because the laws were stronger. But
Right, they are.
yeah,
LLCs are easy to get. That's why I have.
and they haven't been around long enough to have full testing.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So, but I had LLCs for other things, for different holdings, different properties, different things, and
Right.
different LLCs, but nothing like these guys where Edward has told me that, and it's very common for people in his situation to have a lot of LLCs in on hold that you're not doing anything with yet.
Right. Oh yeah.
Because you might need one, and that way it's already open. It's already ready to
Exactly.
go.
No, I did that. I had one or two that I had available in case I would acquire something, because you don't
Right.
want to acquire a property in your own name
No.
and then transfer it, because then the
Right.
corporate veil is pierced.
Right. And that's why he keeps a lot of stuff handy, but that's his years of experience and
And
other.
I can't say. I mean, yes, I made money at it, but it was nothing extraordinary, you know.
Yeah. But I like that he has that all thought out way ahead of time.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what you try to do.
Of course, he was trained by the gentleman that owned the business before him.
Yeah.
And he learned a lot along the way, and he's just a smart guy, so he
Yeah.
picks it all up.
I would say with me, I just read.
You just read?
Read a lot of books.
Reading will make you a smart guy too. Lincoln did it.
It all depends on what you read.
That's probably true. I was reading Star Wars. We'll be right back. AM 560 KVLU.
What's up, Yuma, and hello, Russ Clark Show listeners. Johnny Porter here, and I just made the switch to Allo Fiber, and it's a game changer. Lightning fast speeds for streaming, working from home, and gaming. No buffering or slowed down speeds. It's time to ditch the glitch and switch to Allo Fiber.
The Desert Lily Annual Quilt Show is coming Friday and Saturday, January 9th and 10th at the Yuma Civic Center, with hundreds of beautiful quilts and wearable art items on display. See the special quilts celebrating America's 250th birthday. There'll be items for sale at the country stores and a fat quarter basket drawing. Admission is just $8. Buy tickets for your chance at winning the Love in a Mist quilt. Proceeds to benefit the Hanson House. The Desert Lily Annual Quilt Show, January 9th and 10th at the Yuma Civic Center. Don't miss it.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63 out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Mike.
Bringing out 2025 and the forecast calling for 64 and cloudy today, north wind at 5 to 10. Cloudy early this evening, 52 overnight. Partial clearing overnight, leading to partly cloudy on New Year's Day, high of 70. Partly cloudy at 53 on Thursday night.
At Exceptional Community Hospital, we are redefining what emergency care should feel like. Fast, personal, and compassionate. Our experienced ER physicians and staff are here 24/7 to care for your unexpected illness or injury. Don't wait for emergency care when you can be seen in minutes. With short wait times, you'll get the prompt attention you need, because every minute matters. And if your recovery takes longer, we provide the inpatient care you deserve. Exceptional Community Hospital. Compassionate care. Exceptional service.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Mike Rowe. That's pound 250, Mike Rowe.
AM 560 KVLU. Russ Clark with you. Dean is here.
Glad to be here.
I started talking about the DOJ. They've charged nearly 100 people in Minnesota already, and it's currently. P.M. Bondi's already involved in that thing, and crediting Nick Shirley for all of it. Bondi reported that the video of Nick reported 110 million of alleged and proven fraud among Solly-owned healthcare. I didn't realize it had that kind of price tag on it, but I guess she totaled it up. I got a phone call. Let me go ahead and take that. You're on the air.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Danny.
How you guys doing, man?
We're doing well.
Good, good. Hey, I want to change the subject matter just a little bit. Last night I was watching TV, and they had a show on about different things and this and that. Well, anyways, they were celebrating Dick Van Dyke from beginning to the end. I think is he still alive, Russ?
Yeah,
Van
but he's
Dyke?
like 100.
Like
Yeah.
101, something like that.
Yeah. Anyways, it was very interesting. That guy had such a celebrated life, my friend.
Yeah. He's still, very cognitive. I mean, he's smarter than Joe Biden.
I would say. And I read a little. I read a little bit about that, and he had an epiphany in his middle 30s, I think, where he said, "Whoa, I'm not doing healthy things," and then he changed his lifestyle, and that he credits that with his long, healthy life.
Yeah. Well, anyways, and there was some things in there that I never knew about the man, but he was what a talent that guy was.
Yeah, he was. I don't think he's been active for many years, but he's still out there.
Oh yeah. Well, I think wasn't the last show Dial M for Murder or something or whatever it was? I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So, and I want to also kind of put in. I'll go back to the thing here. The Democrats, you would think that since the economy and whatnot is doing so well, you'd think they would climb on board, and instead of being idiots about the whole thing, that they would, go with President Trump and get us really going here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the far left has grabbed control.
That's right.
And they don't see anything as out of bounds. They don't want to benefit the country. So they'll just make up stuff and claim Trump is doing horrible things. I mean, I see this when I talk to friends who are leftist or liberal. I mean, they have a completely different view of what's happening. Trump is horrible. He's defying the Constitution. He's putting in an autocratic state. It's not true. None of it's true. All of it was true under Joe Biden. So it's when you live in a universe where everybody's telling you black is white, you start believing black is white.
Yeah, exactly. Dean, it just, to me, it just doesn't make any sense.
I understand.
Instead of hating the man so much, you would get on board, and
it's about power. They want his power more than just to hate him. They hate him for being in power. They hate him for being effective. They hate him for being a populist. They hated that people voted for him. They hated that he got the popular vote. But for all those reasons, it's not because he's making money for the country. It's not because he's helping the country. They probably hate him for that too, because we're supposed to be the ones to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, guys. I just, to me, it is about power. Because if they get in, if they God help us, if they get in, it's going to be really bad, guys. These Democrats, far left, they're going to change this country around to their way of thinking. And I think that's what happened when oh my God, I can't remember the name of this, but when
well, Biden did that, and I think Obama did that too.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if isn't that what happened with the succession that happened?
Oh, you mean like when Wilson was sick, and then his cabinet and wife took over and made a bunch of decisions when he couldn't even talk? Yeah, that type of thing did happen in the past.
Well, it happened under Biden, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think he just
The auto pen, though.
wasn't. Yeah, auto pen versus a competent president.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Biden's 165 years old, so anything could happen. I'm doing.
All right,
buddy. Dean the dancing machine.
I appreciate the call, man. Take care. All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, you have a nice New Year's night tonight. Be safe, guys. Everywhere out there, listeners, be safe, please.
You too, sir. Be good. Bye. Yeah, be safe. I think that's a good comment. I need
Yeah,
to
it is.
mention that. Don't go shooting firearms in the air.
No, that's a
at
bad idea.
midnight.
The bullet comes down somewhere.
It
And
does. It comes down with enough to cause damage, or it could kill you.
Yeah, I mean, if you absolutely must shoot a firearm in a shotgun with bird shot, because by the time it falls, it won't hurt anything.
Yeah, just annoying.
Small bird shot. It'll bounce right off of clothes.
Yeah.
But the real problem you have is when people fire high-powered rifles and pistols at a low angle. And then
Yes, it's got more
it's
velocity
got a
when it
lot
hits.
of velocity when it hits,
Yeah.
and people have been killed that way pretty commonly. And people have been damaged by firing a
straight up, straight
high
down.
energy projectile straight up, because when it comes down, it still has enough
Yeah,
energy to hurt.
Yeah, it's going to hurt you. Terminal velocity, it's going to
There have
reach a
been
velocity. And it's going to
Right.
stay there.
There have been a few people have been killed in that type of thing, but
Yeah.
usually just a roof or even a hat would be enough protection to prevent serious damage from it. But when you fire it less than straight up, it comes down with greater velocity.
Yeah, so be careful, and no drunk driving.
Yeah,
don't do that. And our police officers, our sheriff's department, they're going to be out there checking and looking, trying to keep people safe. Well, they are.
When I came back from Texas, it was kind of funny because there was a fair amount of traffic, and a little white sports car, as I was in the left-hand lane and approaching past another vehicle, but there was 100 feet yet between us. This little white sports car zoomed up alongside of me, cut over in front of me, and zoomed away. It's probably going over 100 miles an hour, I figured. Well, about 50 miles later, here it is on the side of the road with a police officer next to it.
Wow,
Ticket.
they're having a little chat.
Yeah. And so then I'm going along, and another hour later, here comes this sports car, same sports car.
He still beats you.
Zooming behind me again, taking off at over 100 miles an hour. Well, another hour and a half later, here it's on the side of the road with 4 police cars.
What's the chance of getting caught twice in the same day?
Well, I think people phoned ahead, and said, hey, keep an eye out for this.
Yeah.
And, it was like a SWAT team around the guy the second time.
What do you want to bet that they towed the car after that?
I wonder, yeah. It might have been going at such a velocity they weren't going to just write the ticket.
There is a range that there's some room for those.
It's
police
funny
officers.
because when he zoomed by me, I thought, I'm probably going to see you. I'll catch up to you because of the ticket.
Maybe he got away with it many times, and
Maybe
that day he did.
I tried to be generous in this type of thing. He might have something really urgent that he has to get to, and he's willing to risk multiple tickets to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, but if so, it didn't work
But
because
if there's a pregnant lady in there, the cops would have given him an escort, and then
it was just one person in the sports car. But
Yeah.
you don't know. There might have been some deadline he had to get to or something. It's not impossible. People have emergencies. And,
Sure.
I mean, I've done it. I've traveled way over the speed limit. Don't do it anymore, but I've done it in times when I figured I had to be somewhere at a certain time.
Yeah, but the police officer will recognize the emergency. I don't know what they do with it. You're probably still going to get a ticket at some point, but
It all depends what's going on.
yeah, it depends on that. I need to get back to this 100 people charged in Minnesota fraud scheme. 85 are Somalian.
Yeah.
Now, out of 100 to have 85 Somalian, that's almost 85%.
Well, that's 85%. And the Somalis, you mentioned earlier, only make up a few percent of the population of Minneapolis.
Yeah, and Walt says, well, it's the white guys you need to go after. Those are the
Right.
criminals,
Because they're
How
prevented.
can you be so racist, Tim? How can you be so racist?
He's been taught that racism is okay.
The video, by the way, of Nick Shirley's gotten 120 million views.
Yeah, that's amazing.
60 individuals have already pleaded guilty in court. That's a
Well,
lot.
it's hard to believe that he made it all up if 60 have pleaded guilty.
Now, Shirley said that, Bondi said that Shirley's work has helped show Americans the scale of fraud in Tim Walz's Minnesota. And I think that's true because everything we're hearing now, well, these things have been going on for 10 years. We've had whistleblowers. It's been in the news before, like years ago, over the years, that there's been fraud in there, but it's never gotten any kind of attention.
Right.
But I don't think it
hasn't taken off.
I don't think it was ever explained that it was this widespread
For how much?
in this pandemic, of a fraud.
Yeah, I think so.
Bondi said the DOJ, along with the U.S. Attorney General, and that's the U.S. Attorney General, not the state Attorney General. U.S. Attorney General Daniel Rosen has been working to build cases against the fraudsters. And I know Tim Walz is trying to spool up, and he's on the case now, but they've let it go with whistleblowers telling them they're well aware.
Right. Yeah, I remember reading a story about this several years ago where they talked about widespread fraud, and I said, "Why isn't somebody doing something?" Well,
we're still investigating.
Yeah.
Scott Bennett with the Treasury Department is working closely. Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, Housing Urban Development, Scott Turner, Labor Secretary Lori Chavez de Rivera on the prosecutions. So they're bringing in the whole squad.
Well,
of everybody from the Trump administration. Is that fair?
I think so. I mean, one of the things they want to do.
It's got so much public attention they have to.
Well, it's not just that, but they want to spread the word that if you do this stuff, we'll come after you. You know, to make an example of these people.
And they should, because that helps. I mean, just like they made an example out of Al Capone. They couldn't catch him on beating people to death with a baseball bat. They got him on IRS charges.
Yeah.
But they wanted to make an example that you can't be a mobster.
Right.
You know,
and that's what they're trying to do here. And I think they're having an effect.
The Department of Labor posted on X, we will bring it into the Somalian fraud network. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's office did not immediately respond. They're not talking. There's also Feeding the Future program, which provided millions of meals for children. And apparently it didn't provide much of any. And that one's very much tied to our representative, Elin Omar. She helped with that. And apparently they're saying that was a fraud.
Yes, it's interesting because these programs were meant and designed to help people in need.
Mm-hmm.
But the people who ran the fraud say, well, I need money. So I'm a person in need. So I need money to take first-class flights to Abu Dhabi. I need money to buy a mansion in Saudi Arabia, whatever.
But Pam Bondi said there's 300 million to 400 million they know about of U.S. taxpayers' money has been sent to East Africa and Middle East. The scheme's leader was sentenced to 28 years. So that means this is something old. This is not new. If he's already been sentenced, that didn't happen a week ago.
Well, if you do a plea deal, it can happen fast.
And this guy was ordered to pay 48 million in restitution.
That's a
and that's according to an August DOJ. That was before.
That was before
but it was recent.
Video came out.
It was recent. So some of these have not slipped through the cracks. Some of them have been found.
Right.
But then acting attorney Joseph Thompson said this country gave Farah everything, and that was the fraudster. Gave him everything, and he took
it all, and then more. Yeah.
So he says, I want to be clear on the scope of the crisis. And this is from before. This is a Joseph Thompson that was then acting. He says, I want to be clear on the scope of the crisis. What we see are schemes stacked upon schemes, draining resources meant for those in need. It feels never ending. I have spent my career as a fraud prosecutor, and the depth of fraud in Minnesota takes my breath away. Now that was already happening, but Tim Walz didn't hire the special investigators. Tim Walz didn't say he was going to go after it at that point. I mean, it was just, and this was going on when he was suggested as a vice president.
Right. Yes.
Nomination. But it wasn't getting to that. And Nick Shirley is the one that went out and said he had enough of it and filmed 50 places.
Right. And I have to give his confederate or his accomplice or his assistant credit. He was an older guy who went through all the public records in Minnesota to find these places, how much money they were supposed to get, and do the homework to set up so they could go out and video. So he isn't getting near as much credit. Maybe he's just smart in keeping his name out of it.
One of my listeners says he called Grijalva's, or she, I don't know, one or the other, called the Grijalva's office yesterday, and the spokesman implied that Somalia fraud was related to COVID funding. Not sure how that's related. Well, the COVID funding did a lot, and the COVID funding took down rules, and the COVID funding had that was it PP something? So something like
I recall something
payroll protection or personal
and it's
protection.
a huge amount of money that just got shoveled out.
But that's not what's going on today. But they're not wrong. The COVID money probably
I'm sure there's a lot of fraud
kicked off a
in the
lot of
COVID.
it. It kicked off a lot of it in the United States.
Right.
I don't know what percentage they said was fraud, but it was a big percentage.
Yes.
At one time they said it was fraud.
And people have been prosecuted
Yeah.
on COVID fraud.
So it's probably true, but it's probably a half truth.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure it does.
Oh, that's the COVID money.
And,
Well,
and
that's a
it's
true
certain
statement.
amount, it's sort of a
It's
deflection.
not a complete
probably.
statement.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is ongoing programs.
Yes, correct.
That and maybe the COVID money funded a lot of thought process. Like, well, what else is there?
Sure.
Did you know they're apparently doing some things with transportation? I didn't even know this happened. But transportation. Oh, we're out of time. I'm glad you're looking. I'll have to get back to that. It's just a couple minutes late. It's almost 8:00. Hopefully you're late for work, or otherwise you're not going to work today. We'll be back. AM 560 KBLU.
There's a man in D.C.
KBLU, Yuma.
From the News 11's information desk, I'm Jelena Aguilera. A 12-year-old boy could be facing some serious charges over threats made to a youth soccer league. The Yuma Police Department says the boy was accidentally added to a group chat for the Yuma Youth Soccer Association on Monday afternoon, where he made a threat. Out of precaution, police added extra security at the Rock Athletic Sports Complex near Desert Sun Drive and South Avenue A. Meanwhile, the league canceled other practices and activities. The boy admitted to police that he sent the message as a joke. YPD would like to use this as a warning. Threats like this are always taken seriously and not a joke. The case was sent over to the Yuma County Juvenile Justice Center to see if any charges will be filed against the boy. Catch us on the TV side on News 11 every weekday at 5, 6, and 10 p.m. for your latest local news, weather, and sports.
There's a man in D.C. He stands 6'3". He's fighting for you.
AM 560 KBLU. Russ Clark back with you. Dean's here.
Glad to be here.
Man, we've gone through 2 hours already. I've still got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
We might make it. So we might. Trump administration is launching a $50 billion rural health transformation transformation.
Rural transformation, right?
On health. On health.
Oh, yes.
Health.
I've heard of some of this.
It's in the one big, beautiful act bill. I like it when the left talks about that bill. They get so sour-faced. They say it's an ugly bill. They don't like it.
It was a major achievement. I think that he was able to get that through, and it came through with really thin margin.
Yeah,
but
they expected
1 or 2 votes in the House and the Senate. I mean, it was really close.
That's exactly what they expected.
Yes, but I mean, showed that they pushed it as far as they could.
Yeah,
I mean, there was no margin.
But this health bill for rural, it's going to distribute between 147 million and 281 million to each U.S. state in 2026 through a widespread rural health program designed to provide better access to medical care in rural areas. So Arizona is going to get somewhere around 200 million, obviously, somewhere in the middle probably, to be spent, and that's for every year for 10 years.
So, I guess they're giving the states a lot of leeway as to how they structure the program.
It's got to be run through the states.
Yeah.
And it's got to be for rural areas. And Scottsdale's not rural.
Yeah, I was wondering, what's the definition here?
I don't know. I don't know how they're going to say it. But it's going to be making available $10 billion annually. So it's 5 years, not 10, from 26 to 30 in all 50 states. So imagine, smaller states are going to get less and whatever.
Well, sure. But, a lot of the smaller states, I mean, are big states. So there's a lot of rural areas.
I look at this and I said, look, if they send that money to Minnesota, how much of it's actually going to hit the rural areas versus other states that are going to be more?
Well, it's always a problem is like how much goes to administrative costs. Like you have some charities, like administrative cost is 60% of their overall spending.
So 200 million get watered down to 100 million, per state or whatever, because they tack on stuff and they come up with a pet project that's good for rural medical, but it's not really.
Well, look at that, high-speed rail project in California that
never
laid a mile of rail and cost something like hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah, well, that's the final cost. They haven't spent that much yet. I forget what they've spent, 12 billion or something.
Okay. That's still a lot of money.
Yeah, but for having and it started off with this huge program. It's going to be 700 miles.
Yeah,
and it was going to start from San Francisco or L.A. to
San Diego. I think.
No, L.A. I think was the original leg. L.A. to San Francisco. Now it's Bakersfield to some other small city. And they've got 80 miles of guideway. Means they put some concrete down and built some trestles or stuff to put track on eventually.
Yeah,
but that's all they've got. That's it. And they're still planning. It's still architecturally and I guess civil engineering.
I mean, it just looks like this project that's designed to siphon off money to favored political groups.
They opened the organization for high-speed rail in 1997 or something.
Wow.
And
30 years ago.
And the voter referendum that funded it, the first $10 billion, was in 2008, and it was to be opened. The rail between L.A. San Francisco was to be open and operating by 2025.
Yeah, well,
now they're not even going to build that. That's just
Well, I recall the Trump administration said no more federal money. We're not giving you any more.
Well, here's an interesting thing on that. Trump said that, and immediately there was a lawsuit from California because he's withholding $4 billion right now of what they were going to send, and they said no, we're not going to send it. And I think the federal government represented between 18 and 20% of the total project, but he said no, we're not sending it. And an immediate lawsuit. they quietly withdrew it like a week ago with no explanation. And it's been hypothesized that the explanation is that there's so mismanaged and everything. If that thing went to court and had to show all the records, they would look more foolish than they do now.
I heard something to that effect. It was if they went forward to the lawsuit, there'd be discovery, and they did not want the discovery.
Correct. Because there might be something shenanigans, there might be something going on. They just don't want to.
It's California. It's kind of hard to believe there wouldn't be shenanigans.
Right. So there's a lot of, and I talk about this one with the 50 billion. I hope it doesn't get caught up like the high-speed rail or the Somalian.
Yeah, well, of course, that's the worry.
Because it goes to the state, and we hire those state leaders to do the right thing. And in California, that means something totally different than other states.
Oh yeah. Or
and I don't think we got the right leader in this state.
Like under Biden, what happened with the broadband for the rural areas? We won't allow Starlink to do it for 200 million. We'll demand people lay fiber for 600 million.
Right. Right. And it becomes stupid.
Yeah.
Dr. Mehmet Oz with the Center for Medicaid, Medicare Services Administration, he revealed the plans on the 29th to do this. He's emphasized that this is a massive effort to change the unfortunate reality that has overtaken rural healthcare in America, which is that your zip code has started to predict your life expectancy. And of course, we're in rural America.
Well, of course, we have YRM. Well, no, we don't have YRMC anymore. What is it now?
I forget.
Nvidia?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, but,
something none of us know.
The hospital system here in UMass fairly good.
I think we're ahead of I mean, as far as rural areas, we're in excellent shape.
Yeah, compared to most rural areas. Yeah. But, you know, we have had people in here said that it used to be a lot better.
But my question is, where's the money going to really go?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
in
the
Biden's office, it would go towards green energy because that would help people live longer. Yeah, I don't trust him. Administration officials said that half the funds will be divided evenly among the states, and that the other $25 billion will be appropriated according to rural healthcare infrastructure, state-led reforms, application-based proposals. Funds could be reclaimed if states fail to meet, benchmark, or neglect their commitment to reforms. And I like that. There's a way to claw it back.
Yeah,
and they're going to dole it out over year, 1/5 every year for 5 years.
Right.
So they can see what they do with it, and if they don't like it, they'll claw it back.
Well, there's just a problem providing healthcare in areas that don't have high population.
But how's this money going to make a difference? You know, for $50 billion, you're not going to build a hospital in every rural area.
No, I wouldn't think so. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of like providing transportation facilities that are inexpensive or something like that.
No,
don't know.
He said the purpose of this $50 billion investment in rural area healthcare is not to pay off bills. Well, that's good. Although people live longer if you're out of debt. The purposes of the investment is to allow the right size the system and to deal with the fundamental hindrances of improving in rural healthcare. All that's just, what does all that mean? It means
what does it mean? Yeah,
it means nothing. It means whatever you want it to mean. It's $50 billion, and it could be a boondoggle or it could be helpful.
Right. I mean, yeah, I don't know if this is a solution. If the solutions are obvious and clear here, I think that much of what President Trump is doing is clear, obvious, common sense things, which is why they're succeeding so well.
And actually, this is common sense, even though I think it's got potential for fraud and potential for misappropriation. But they're doing that, and at the same time that they're passing this money out and let it be controlled by states, which I don't really have a problem with. I just have a problem with some states that are inept.
Right.
And they're not going to do the right thing. You know they're not. They're going to burn it on some other special project and call it healthcare, just like, the Inflation Reduction Act was actually the Green Deal.
Yes.
He said the rural push aligns with Trump's 26 skinny budget because the Department of Health and Human Services is cutting discretionary spending by 33%. They're cutting it down to $80 billion, and they're axing 20,000 jobs. So what they're doing is they're reducing the federal government's footprint and saying we're going to put the footprint in your state.
Yeah, let the states handle it. And generally, states do a better job.
Generally.
Although I have to say California is not a great example.
So for that reason, I look at this. This isn't an additional $50 billion that's going out there. This is actually cost reduction and distribution out
Right,
to the
right.
state.
What they're trying to do is cut out all the take in the federal government,
Right.
because the administrative costs of the federal government are not insignificant.
So they cut out 20,000 jobs. That seems like a lot.
Federal jobs.
Yeah, it seems like a lot. And they're going to put it on to the state. Here's the money. Do
Right.
the right thing in your state within guidelines. And those guidelines seem arbitrary right here. But this isn't. I mean,
It's very short. There's
Yeah, it's a
probably-
short story, so I don't know how much.
Right. There's probably several pages in the
It's in
actual
there.
bill.
The administration's also highlighted $14 billion in identified Medicaid fraud, which that's probably not a big part of it. I mean, I imagine it's bigger.
I just don't know. I've heard stories about Medicaid fraud all my life.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I look into them, I go, is this really fraud or is it somebody that
Well-
made a coding error?
Well, on that, I agree with you. But the Medicaid fraud that I see right now is giving illegals Medicaid.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of that.
And that's huge.
Yeah, it can be significant.
And states have done that, and that's fine. You keep doing it, but the feds are going to stop paying it, and you foot the bill.
Right. There are several states where they've used the way those definitions are set up to get enormous amounts of money into the state.
Correct. And to get the population up, you get better representation, better votes. And some of these states want those people, a certain class of people in because they can harvest the votes.
Correct. I
And
believe
stay
you
in
are.
power.
I believe you are correct.
But I think that 14 billion is probably a drop in the bucket compared to where it could be. There's about 14 billion we've identified with those of folks who are duly enrolled wrongly in multiple states for Medicaid.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's a
same
problem.
person. And apparently that's something that Doge found out that the
They
communication.
They
with
never
the
did the
leaders-
cross referencing.
No, even within their own departments.
Yeah.
And if they wanted to know something from another department, they had to pick up a phone and call them to ask them to look it up and tell them what it is.
I suspect, the cross communication was not good.
No, it's not good. But it sounds like the right direction. As much as I hate to see 50 billion split up between the states because I know some states are just going to spend it on stupid.
Yes. Well, the
But
theory
that's
is that they will do better than the federal government.
But that's probably true too. But you elect your leaders, you elect your governor, your Senate, your House.
Well,
And now we know who the Somalis want to hire. They want to hire people like Omar that can steal more. And if that's what you do, then you live with that. And Minnesota's going to pay a price.
Correct.
Under the current regime. Because if every state did what Minnesota is doing, there would be no United States, would be Somalia.
Well,
Our wealth would be destroyed.
it appears to me that that's what the left wants.
Yeah.
Because they have this weird idea that if we destroy the United States, something better will pop up afterward. Even though the United States is the most successful political system on the planet ever.
They thought that when they killed the czar, when they,
Yes, right.
when Castro took over
Yeah.
Cuba and all that. I mean, they all think that. We're giving it to the people. We're giving it to the people. It's never been the case.
Well, and then some strong man rises through the party and he ends up a billionaire.
Yeah, Venezuela, same thing. They
Right.
went from like the richest in South America to the poorest, but not the leaders. The leaders are very well.
Doing very well.
Yeah, doing really well. They took a lot of money. Their kids are going to the best schools.
They also have a lot of security concerns.
Yes. Right now, and as Maduro, is getting later on into this, and the country's wealth has been squandered, and the natural resources have been squandered, and they've nationalized all the businesses, and then they're not running them well, and they're producing less. They get involved in the illegal activity to fill the void,
Oh, yeah.
and that illegal activity is getting their boats blown up.
Right.
So they're coming to an end, really.
I hope so. I would love to see regime change in Venezuela because it's been run so badly. And I think that it's widely recognized that the last election was illegitimate and Maduro didn't really get 80% of the votes. He probably got about 35%.
Right. And that lady that won, she had to escape Venezuela recently. And it was like,
Yes.
I retired military types from the United States and have their own private business that does that.
That got her out.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
it was kind of a close thing.
It'd be a scary thing. And these guys go do that. That's just what they do for a living is risk.
And as I read an article said that U.S. Resources were able to find the boat because it went into very bad weather, and they were able to direct a rescue to them that prevented her from
It's funny. I read
dying.
a story on the guy that was heading up that operation to get her out on the boat. They had to be very careful about the selection of boat. They couldn't make it look like a drug running boat.
Yeah,
with
that's
four
true.
other broods. They blow those up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So they were very careful, but they did make it. U.S. Coast Guard, which we don't hear a lot about the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard was the one that was interdicting the boats at one time. That was them.
Yes.
But they would never hurt anybody.
Well, they had rules of engagement far different than we have now.
Much different. And that's why these guys had these very high speed boats to outrun the Coast Guard.
Right, because the Coast Guard could not stop them.
Yeah, you couldn't keep up. And you can't shoot them. I mean, if they're running, you can say pull over, and they say, no, there's nothing you can do unless you pull in the Navy, and they have a different directive right now.
Well, right now. And that's why one of the reasons this method of transport became popular because of our rules of engagement, you could not stop those very fast boats, or very difficult anyway.
Yeah. The Big Beautiful Bill Act, again, this is out of the Big Beautiful Bill, provided $8.6 billion for deploying the United States Coast Guard's icebreaker fleet.
Ah, yeah.
Do you know what how much our icebreaker fleet is right now? What we have in the inventory?
Oh,
for icebreakers. Three's right. Do you know what China has?
15?
40.
Oh, wow.
Oh no, that's Russia. Russia has 40. China only has 4.
Okay. But I know we're getting some built in Finland. They're the premier place in the world to build icebreakers.
That's true, and I'd heard that early on. And the reason for that is because we don't know how to build them. We haven't done it in a while.
We don't have the capacity. Canada is also building some for us, I think.
Not according to this.
Okay.
Maybe we're mad at Canada.
Maybe.
Except for the ones that are going to be states.
Yeah. But Finland is definitely building some.
Yeah. There's a organization. They're going to build, I think, 6 total. Yeah, six Arctic security cutters, icebreakers increase, which isn't a lot. I mean, they're going to build 6, and they have 3 that are outdated. They're going to put 6 in compared to Russia that has 40. 40. I mean, Russia dominates that area. I mean, they're up there. I mean, they live in that area.
Do. And Russia has a long history of trying to make what's called the Northeast Passage, which is around the northern side of Asia, and then between the Bering Strait and down to Europe.
China is a brand new entry into that. China has
fairly recent.
Yeah, it's not had an Arctic nation, in the past, but now it has 4 icebreakers, and they've been, I guess, kind of rendezvousing with the Russians.
Right, and there have been some successful merchant ships that have gone through that Northeast Passage because it's shorter, and you don't have to go through the Suez Canal, and so.
Right.
There have been some, but they've also run into some problems because it's not easy to do. There's a lot of ice. You have to have an icebreaker ahead of you, or you have to break the ice yourself. And so as winter comes on, the route gets shut down.
Yeah, and imagine it freezes pretty quickly too.
It's variable.
I don't know. I don't really understand the icebreaker mythology. I mean,
if you're going to operate ships, you can have a much longer time period. You can operate them if you have icebreakers to break.
No, but I don't know how they do it. How do they break the ice? Is it just the weight and the shape of the ship?
Well, and they have very strongly reinforced. They have to be built much stronger so they can break the ice without damaging the ship.
There's no mechanical mechanism of hydraulics or something in the hull. Is there?
I don't think so. I think it's mainly how the engines and the hull are. So the engines have to be fairly strong. The hull is shaped in a certain way, and it's very, very heavy duty.
Just ramming.
It may be that because of the hull, they sort of come up and break it from the top. I mean, I'm not 100% sure. I've looked at the dynamics.
I've never looked at that. But 4 of the ships are going to be built in Louisiana, Bollinger shipyards. And the other two are going to be Ruma Marine in Finland. The one in Finland are going to be built first, and they're going to be delivered in 2028. The first one will be delivered in 2028. The first one out of Louisiana is going to be delivered in 29 because the Finland's agreed to help teach us.
Yeah.
And with that, so I guess they're all going to be the same.
My understanding, there's some of the, one of the best proven designs that exist.
Okay.
And they're going to be.
You
don't need to.
But Finland has the experience. Finland has
the
network, and it's all set up, and they're going to train the Bollinger shipyards how to do it. And Bollinger's going to put out 4 of them. Finland's going to put out 2. Kirsty Nolan commented on it. Says America has been an Arctic nation for over 150 years, and we're finally acting like it under President Trump. Our adversaries continue to look to grow presence in the Arctic. Equipping the Coast Guard with Arctic security cutters will help reassert American maritime dominance there. Now, when they say it's a security cutter, what is the security part of it? Are they armed?
I suspect they're armed.
Okay.
Probably not with, the same as a destroyer, but they have arms. Yeah.
All right.
I would expect they would.
They
probably have drones still.
Everybody has drones now.
Yeah, right. I mean, but if you're in the Arctic, maybe the satellite coverage, actually probably have pretty good satellite coverage too. I mean, I've looked at some of the pictures showing Russian ships going through the Arctic on these passages. One of them went through the Northwest Passage, where they go through just north of Hudson Bay and over and come out near the St. Lawrence Seaway over there by Nova Scotia. And, they're very narrow passages that get iced up by narrow. I mean, just a few miles across, some of them less than a mile. And so if the ice closes that, you're in difficult shape. So
the comment here on this from Nome is that they seek to transform the United States Coast Guard into a more agile, capable, and responsive fighting force. And I guess I never think Coast Guard as a fighting force, or more of a regulatory is what I think of.
Yeah, well, they definitely are. And I think they are older than the Navy.
Okay.
They were like one of the first organizations, maybe not as old as the Army, but they're they've been around a long time, and they've always had the job, the mission of protecting the U.S. shoreline, the boundaries of the U.S. On the ocean.
Yeah, but I've always seen them as a guy to make sure you have the right amount of life jackets on the boat, and you got a fire extinguisher.
They have the safety and rescue operations.
Right, and they're the guys you call when you're stuck in a hurricane.
Yeah.
You call the Coast Guard. And those guys, they go.
They're tough guys.
They go, man, and their boats are built for it.
Yeah.
They can flip over, flip around. They still keep going.
Right.
That'd be a rough ride. I mean, that's one where you 6-port harness into the end of the ship.
I think I've seen a video too. They are very, it's a very intense operation.
This says that China entered the Arctic for the first time last year. For the first time, so it's been 2 years ago.
Wow, that is recent.
Yeah, and they went in there to join Russian ships on patrol.
Yeah, okay.
And then they started flying. They flew bomber aircraft with the Russians around Alaska.
So
this is a sign of what?
Yeah, that they're working with the Russians.
Yeah.
So this happened after the Ukraine war started. The Ukrainian war has been going on almost 4 years.
No, of course it did. It happened this year.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, I think there's a connection.
Probably. I don't know where the Ukraine war is going.
Well, I've been saying for quite a while that the major benefactor from the Ukrainian war is China.
Yeah.
Because Russia has become much more dependent on them.
Right. And there's going to be some trade-off there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I know Trump is working with the peace deals with Lazinski. Not Lazinski. Is it?
It's
Kaczynski. Zelensky. Okay. Zelensky, on a 20-point plan, I think they got 18 of them. The hard ones are done. Of course, they're not working with Putin, and Putin's going to.
Well, I've heard that Trump is talking to Putin too. I mean, it's obviously a very difficult thing.
But here's, Trump's direction has always been, Russia occupies land. You're probably not going to get that back.
It's a little more subtle, I think, but there is that. And he put forward early on that Zelensky doesn't have any cards, but I don't think it's true.
No.
The Ukrainians would not have been able to hold on as they have if they didn't have some power.
But the card he's got is like, if you don't quit, then we've got mutual destruction for both of us. I mean, that's what it looks like. It's just because people just keep dying all the time.
And he seems to have, there's more. I would think there'd be more pressure on Zelensky to make peace, but maybe not, because the Ukrainians want to keep their country.
Yes, and they
want to survive.
They seem, as this thing goes on, so nearly 4 years, they seem to be getting better, and Russia seems to be running out of hardware.
Yes, obviously it's more complicated than that, but that's the trend. Yes.
But he mentioned Trump apparently had some conversation with Putin, like this week or recently, that said, "Look, you've got some occupation of some lands right now. How do you know you're still going to have that much in the future?
Exactly.
And you may lose what you've got now. It might be a good time to call peace." He's looking for Trump wants to stop the war.
You have to have leverage on both sides for it to happen.
Yeah, and I understand they just made Ukraine just made some huge attacks in Crimea. Like within the last week.
Yeah, I know that they've been making some gains that reversed some of the Russian gains.
Of course, we don't get a lot
back and forth.
We don't get any video. We don't get any.
Well, if you search for it on the internet, you can find some.
You can find some, but most of it's good. If you're a Russian citizen, it's illegal for you to produce it, to put it out.
Correct.
Some of it makes it, but it's at high risk.
And both sides are engaged in information warfare because war involves deceit and deception, and that's the way it is.
But during these peace talks, the Russians sent everything they had, like 500 drones, all kinds of stuff, and they knocked out the power in Kyiv again.
Yeah,
electrical power in Kyiv, which has been going on for years. And in fact, I read a story yesterday, I think, from the guys that own the power company that talk about how much rebuilding they do on a regular basis, and they get it, but they seem to get it done. They seem to get these things back up. They seem to get it done.
You're correct
on the whole thing. But now, for the Ukraine in the last year has gotten to where they can knock out the power in Moscow.
I have heard that happen.
Yeah, which is kind of amazing.
It is.
Yeah, but I don't know where it's going, but it seems like Ukraine gets better, and Russia is a little more.
I would say Russia is a little slower at getting better. They're still getting better, but they're slower, and they're using up a lot of hardware they don't have a lot backup on.
And they go through more personnel. We'll be right back.
Yes.
AM 560.
Bringing out 2025 with the forecast calling for 64 and cloudy today, north wind at 5 to 10. Cloudy early this evening, 52 overnight. Partial clearing overnight, leading to partly cloudy on New Year's Day, high of 70. Partly cloudy at 53 on Thursday night.
Hey, Yuma, this Saturday and Sunday, don't miss Murphy's Gun Show at the Yuma County Fairgrounds. If you didn't get exactly what you wanted for Christmas, start the new year off right by giving yourself the gift you really wanted from Murphy's Gun Show. You'll find firearms, holsters, antiques, scopes, knives, and more, all under one roof. It's happening this weekend at the Yuma County Fairgrounds in the Legacy Building. Doors open at 9 a.m. Admission is just $10. Get more information online at murphysgunshows.com.
At Exceptional Community Hospital, we are redefining what emergency care should feel like. Fast, personal, and compassionate. Our experienced ER physicians and staff are here 24/7 to care for your unexpected illness or injury. Don't wait for emergency care when you can be seen in minutes. With short wait times, you'll get the prompt attention you need because every minute matters. And if your recovery takes longer, we provide the inpatient care you deserve. Exceptional Community Hospital. Compassionate care. Exceptional service.
There's a man in D.C. He stands 6'3". He's fighting for you. He's fighting for me. He'll bring that on, just like he said.
AM 560 KBO, you must talk with me. Dean's here. I had to be a call from Ted while I'm on break. But he said that, Putin's mad now, and he's threatening low-yield nuclear weapons.
Yeah, he's been doing that for 3.5 years.
So I told Ted, man, it's like every week, so what? He seems to think because Zelensky put an attack on his personal residence.
Well, that's what was claimed, but the Ukrainians say no, it's made up. They didn't do it, and they haven't been unwilling to claim when they've had successes. So
Right.
I suspect it's fake.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's so much. I mean, you got to be careful with all information.
Yeah, exactly. Especially out of a war zone.
You don't know, but they've been claiming the nuke thing for so long. How can you take it seriously? And if they do the nuke, the complexion of the whole war changes, and I don't know what happens. But Europe has nukes, United States, Israel has nukes, everybody has nukes, and they're not going to put up with that going on. I mean, mutual destruction type stuff. And
well, you remember the war in the Balkans, and I think it was what the country aimed to be known as Serbia or whatever, but they didn't have nukes. And so we intervened, and the Russians intervened, and everybody intervened, and nobody cared because the countries we were intervening in didn't have nukes. And in Libya, Muammar Gaddafi had a nuke program, and then we invaded Iraq, and he said, maybe this isn't so smart. And he essentially became a de facto ally, though not in contract, and he gave up the nuke program. Well, then Hillary Clinton decided, let's go take over Libya, and we, the Europeans can get cheap oil and all that. And Muammar Gaddafi was killed in a revolution that was financed a lot by us and the Obama administration.
Because I didn't know that.
So the lesson to the whole world is your borders, your contractual agreements, your treaties mean nothing unless you have nukes. If you have a nuke, people respect you. Nobody's invading North Korea, So,
right.
So I would not be too surprised if the Ukrainians come up with a nuke. They are very technologically advanced people. They've got manufacturing facilities. They've got nuclear plants. I don't know if they will, but I wouldn't be too surprised because that would be a credible deterrent for Russia.
They were well underway. Oh, you're talking Ukraine,
right?
They said Iran, but
well, I talked about Libya earlier.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm saying that Muammar Gaddafi gave up his chance at nukes, and then he got overthrown and killed.
Israel has a nuke, but they don't
probably
claim
have
it.
several. Don't know.
No, nobody claims it.
Right. And I've heard numbers as many as 50 they might have.
Yeah, but somehow it's not like public. Like every country that has them, you can look at Wikipedia; they'll show it all to you.
Yeah, this ambiguity works in their interest. I think
so.
So what will happen in Ukraine? I don't know, but I know that President Trump is working harder to try to bring a closure to this wasteful and horrid war over there. How it will happen, I don't know. Everybody pretty much says, well, there's got to be some sort of a ceasefire, and then we'll draw a line along the current engagement line, the front line, and maybe a little give here and there and make that happen. That's what everybody says, but I don't know what will happen.
I'm surprised it's gone on. I mean, I think the whole world's surprised it's gone on this long.
Yes, I think so, because it's become a stalemate where both sides are able to check the other. Nobody can make great gains one way or the other. And so it's just a meat grinder that kills a lot of people and wastes a lot of resources.
Like 1,000 a day or something.
I don't know. But there's a lot.
Yeah, it's terrible. The different subject, DOJ is suing Virginia, which I think everybody's suing everybody right now. It's just lawsuits galore. But we're suing over in-state college tuition for illegal immigrants. And there was a big push. A lot of these states were trying to help out immigrants by saying, we'll give you in-state tuition.
Yeah.
Which is definitely unfair to the people that are citizens that can't get that.
Right.
And then that gets pointed out that you're favoring these people.
Right.
Well, the Trump administration is putting lawsuits against states that offer aid to illegal immigrants, but not out-of-state U.S. citizens. So Trump administration, that's fine, but as long as you do the same for citizens. Well, they don't. They do it just illegal. Uh, and it's challenging the Virginia law that allows in-state college tuition rates for students regardless of their immigration status. The latest in a series of federal lawsuits that are going after them. But a lawsuit is a provision in the Virginia's education code that grants in-state tuition to any student who attended a Virginia high school for at least 2 years and completed graduation requirements, or whose parents paid state taxes for at least 2 years. So either way, parents paid state taxes, which isn't much. I mean, if you had a part-time job, you're paying some taxes, I guess.
Right. It's an interesting case. I'm not going to make a prediction on how it'll go because I think it could go either way.
Well, right now the DOJ says it violates federal law by extending a preferential rate to individuals illegally living in Virginia while denying the same benefit to U.S. citizens. I think that's the crux of the problem. Like if you're going to do it, you got to pay for U.S. citizens the same way.
Well, but
give the same opportunities.
I'm going to play devil's advocate a bit, and I'll play the lawyer on the other side. I'm not a lawyer, but I'll say no. If any U.S. citizen who pays Virginia taxes for 2 years, or who spent 2 years in a Virginia high school qualifies.
Well, then that would be fair. But according to what the DOJ is saying, they don't offer that.
Well, they're saying they don't offer it to every U.S. citizen. They don't say if they attended high school. Or
well, if the rules are attending high school, then I agree with you that if you're from another state but you transferred to finish your last years of high school,
2 years,
last 2 years.
That's what it sounds like. But I haven't read the law, and I'm not an attorney, so I probably should stop pontificating about something I know very little about.
But from what I'm reading, if the DOJ is asking for the same for U.S. citizens that they're doing for illegals, and I think that's a fair requirement.
Like I said.
And if they can demonstrate they do offer it, I think the lawsuit falls apart.
The details are very important in these things, and I haven't read the complaint.
Well, DOJ has already sued Texas, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Illinois, and California. And the Republican-led states quickly settled with Trump. And they settled with Trump by agreeing to revise policies to be in line with federal demand.
Okay.
And the 2 Democrat states, Illinois and California, said, "Oh, heck with you. We do what we want."
Yeah, this seems more like whatever Trump's want, we're again it.
I think so. But right now, Virginia governor is Republican. That's Glenn Youngkin. Now he leaves.
Right, he leaves in a couple months.
So he's not going to say anything right now. He's leaving it to the next governor.
Yeah, okay.
Come in.
Probably reason.
Yeah, because both the attorney general leave in and Glenn Youngkin. I think that's nice to do that.
Yeah, well, it probably is.
I think so. The lawsuit is because of February executive order from Trump titled "Ending Taxpayer Subsidization of Open Borders" that instructed all federal agencies to protect benefits for American citizens in need, in part by ensuring that no taxpayer-funded benefits go to unqualified aliens and preventing federal programs from acting as a magnet for illegal immigration. I like that.
Yes.
I think those are fair.
And
if that's all that's in that bill is to say that any benefit you give any illegal, you have to give the same benefit to citizens.
I don't know.
Well, that's just.
I mean, I understand that.
I don't know if the bill says.
That's what the lawsuit is about.
That's what the lawsuit's about. Is just sharing that. And if that's all it is, and I think that's fair. If that's all it is, and there may be more to it. But Trump's upset about the access to several education-related programs based on immigration status. You shouldn't have a different rule because you have an immigration status where you're new. It should be the same for citizens.
Yeah.
Unless you're a Somalian. No, it should be the same. It should be the same. But they argued that excluding non-citizens' children would harm low-income families, which mean low-income non-citizen families.
Right.
And collapse some of the nation's most vital public programs. Well,
yeah, again, that's buzzword.
That's all buzzwords. It doesn't mean anything,
Right.
really. Judges allowed ICE to access some Medicaid data. That was a big push from a lot of states that won't release it. ICE has gone into some of these states to apprehend a lot of known criminals that are illegally in the country.
Right.
I think they've got like like 1.5 million that they know of or something. I can't remember the exact numbers, but
I had heard something.
a large number they were
like
going after.
Most of a million. Anyway.
So they go to the state to ask for assistance, and some states are saying no, like sanctuary states like California and all that. And so they even asked for Medicaid data. And Medicaid is a state program, which is called Medi-Cal or something, but it's funded by federal dollars.
And there's in the bill that created it, there are requirements for reporting.
And these states have refused to report.
Right. So,
and they said, we're not going to report. Well, the judge just said you had to, which was nice. I said, Medicaid, but he's limiting it. Medicaid data on illegal immigrants is part of an enforcement operation. This district judge, Vince Cabrera, said that federal law allowed the Department of Health and Human Services to share basic biographical location and contact information with ICE. And I think that's all they want anyway. They don't want to know whether you got, smallpox or whether you got diabetes. I mean, that doesn't matter to them.
Right.
They just want to know, where are you?
Yes.
And how do I get a hold of you? It stopped short of allowing other information to be shared. I don't think ICE has a problem with that.
I don't know, but I mean, I wouldn't suspect there'd be a big problem if they.
And they say that ICE was too vague in an explanation of what other types of information they would seek and the reasons for doing so. And I can't think of what they would want other than where they work or occupation. I don't know. I have no idea. But Trump administration in more than 20 blue or purple states, and that's what the litigation is between 20 blue or purple states, that Medicaid, a joint state and federal government programs, generally forbids benefits for illegal immigrants, which it has for a long time. But we know that a lot of states are ignoring that because they are sanctuary and they don't ever ask if you're a citizen.
Right.
So if they don't know, then they're not breaking the law in their minds.
Yes.
And Trump has asked, or the administration has asked, send us over a list of immigration status, and they refuse to do it. And there is not supposed to be tax dollars going to illegal immigrants, with some exceptions. I didn't really know what those exceptions were, but it's emergency care.
Right.
Which
and it probably has something to do with refugee status, things like that.
Yeah, but there is some that's available. The states, though, according to ICE, the agency has not historically requested information for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. I didn't know that. I thought that was something they probably did all along. Apparently, it's fairly new.
Right.
But apparently, they're allowed to.
Well, I think there are reporting requirements, and I think that that's what the judge is saying. You have to report this information.
It just started this year because President Trump issued a series of executive orders designed to curb illegal immigration. ICE also sought to use the data for the Internal Revenue Service, but encountered, well, that's what they wanted. They couldn't get that for the IRS. Let's take a phone call. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning, OG.
Morning.
Some years back, a little Venezuelan soap opera star asked my wife if she would sponsor her to come to the United States.
Oh.
The end result was, hell, it's worse than being married.
Oh.
The responsibility, yeah. You incur all the medical bills, any crime they involved in. My wife would have been responsible for everything. And so we had to find it.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah. But anyway, but we're forgetting Ellis Island. That was the entry port. No, you couldn't come in nowhere else. You had to come to Ellis Island, period. They should reopen it and, again, do that because you can control immigration when you do that. And we didn't have all these laws down here. People just respected us because we enforced it. We didn't make it in. I remember in Oklahoma, when someone got caught in the 50s, the sheriff would arrest you and take you to jail and call immigration, and then take them down to our town and pick them up. Because they picked me up and threw me in jail one time when I was 15 years old. I know that for a fact. Because we did about 5, I think they were from that school, because they were wearing zoot suits. The old called zoot suits.
Okay.
Big legs, big little chain coming out of the pocket for a watch, for pocket watch, all that kind of stuff. And a cap, a hat. whole 9 yards. And they came in, and the IMS came in suits, like IBM guys. Remember IBM? Everybody wore suits.
Yeah.
Yeah, they came in, and they didn't put them in their cars. They had a van with bars on it. They put them, and I guess they took them back to Oklahoma City and got rid of them. And there was no court. They didn't have to have a judge in Pittsburgh County say, "Hey, go." They didn't have to do that.
Different.
They didn't have a judge interfering with them. No.
Well, I think the other particular immigration courts, which are part of that facility, they're not a real judge. They're sort of an administrator.
I am about to tell you why. 1952, McCarran and a man named Walters, a congressman named Walters, I think he's out of PA, they passed one of the best immigration bills ever. It's called the McCarran-Walter Act. 1952. A Democrat, LBJ, the freaking communist that he was, because you look at what he did to the country. He bastardized his country. LBJ did.
Yeah.
I mean, he presided over the most turbulent decade ever since the Civil War. LBJ did that on purpose. We had Martin Luther King was killed, Robert Kennedy, JFK, and even some people want to blame LBJ. And I would say they're not wandering too far from the truth. LBJ was evil. He really was. He killed 57,000 young men under the age of 19 years old in that damn war. That cost this country $1 billion a day for 10 freaking years.
Yeah.
LBJ did that. Don't voters remember this stuff? I do. Don't they remember? And James Bonner running all over Hanoi, worshiping commies? Yeah. And then we had the National Guard killing freaking students at Kent State. Y'all remember that?
Yeah. Oh no, we remember it. LBJ escalated that war against Kennedy.
Then our returning heroes from Vietnam that thought they were heroes got spit on by the likes of American voters and was called a baby killer. Even the cops didn't like us. No. I got in a fight in I want you a honky tonk. Because honky tonks are created for country boys and cowboys to go and have fights. It's not to go pick up girls. It's to go have a fight. And then Texas and Washington are the only states remaining where it's legal to challenge someone to a fight, like a duel. Can't use guns because in Texas, I remember Winchester Club, Pearland, Texas, big old honky tonk. They're floating it too, and somebody runs up to, and we had real Houston cops. That was Harris County Sheriff's Department. They were the security at the club. And it about 400 people. That's how big a barn it was. I went up to the sheriff and said, "There's a fight outside. Are they got guns? No. They got knives? No. He said, let them fight. They earned it." And that's in Texas because it's legal to challenge someone to a freaking fight. And we should have that. That would get rid of a lot of wusses, my friends. All these people whining and complaining. I mean, this is the best country in the whole planet ever in the history of the planet. The United States of America is. And it breaks my heart to hear people whining and bitching because the welfare check ain't enough. Well, there's no other country will give your stupid butt any money, and no one else will only us. Only insurance and medical profession are tied together on this. They're screwing this country, running up with debt. That's what they're doing, and doctors are getting rich. Listen to me, because you're getting rich. Because remember those ventilators from COVID?
Yeah.
All right, they were $39,000 if they used a ventilator on you, and a ventilator would kill you. And remember, if you're diagnosed with COVID, they got another 13,000, I think it was, and everybody died from COVID. They didn't die of heart attacks during that COVID. You knew all that.
Yeah, you died with COVID, not of COVID.
You died because of COVID, and they got the 13 grand. So doctors, you guys got rich. You're not. See, there's no money in a cure, none. That's why cancer's not cured. I got a friend. He's 67 years old. He's went to the hospital within the past few months, and he's already had gallstones, but he had cancer, stomach cancer, and he said, and made motion shit all over. They gave him chemotherapy, and I think they get about $4,000 per freaking treatment from Medicaid. They gave a 67-year-old man that's weak already chemotherapy, and that killed him in 10 days. And they gave him about 8 chemotherapy because he was going every day doing chemotherapy. They killed him for the money. I would go to court swear to what I just said. Because 4,000 10 times, that's 40 grand from this one guy. And then I think they buried him because he was indigent. Because they're down there, and he's got a nice motorhome. Everybody's down there raiding it, stealing stuff out of it and all that kind of thing. He got a golf cart, and he's got like a Nissan late model.
Right.
You know? Oh, yeah, they're just raping. There ain't no sheriff involved in this. There's no cops out here.
Wow.
And I'm just, we got crime in this country that the media does not tell you about, folks. I mean, I'm almost looking at his motorhome, and he's got one of those gas-powered motorhomes, you know, that can run on. Well, you just hit the accelerator and it starts up and runs. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of a nice little rig. Yeah. Someone's already put their claim on it. Because, you know, street legal, there's no title. They just drive it and they have a buddy write a bill of sale and they fly through our stupid crooked court system, you know.
Wow. That's not
good.
good.
Yeah, I'm telling you guys. Communism, I'm going to leave you with this. Communism starts with the good old boys. That's where it starts. Good old boys hire their brother-in-laws, anybody family member, or any good old boy, any good old buddy. And that's where communism starts. And people need to get a hold. It doesn't start at the top level where Trump is. It starts at the local level. We got 10 states right now that are taken over by the communists that are fighting our government, ICE. That's a war, and their National Guard. 2 of them just got killed in D.C. That is a war, folks. Y'all better get involved and call it what it is. It's not protesting no more. This is a war. It's about righteous against wrong. It's what this is about.
All right.
But anyway, that's all I got. I'm running out of juice right now.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it, OG. Have a happy New Year, my friend.
Oh, hey, yeah. Same to you guys.
Right,
happy New Year. You going to watch the fireworks?
No, I'll be in bed.
No, get up and watch it, man. You got plenty of time to sleep after you're dead.
There you go. I'll be there then, man. Take care, buddy. All right, bye-bye. I got a comment from a listener that said, guy's on fire today. Oh, gee, I think he's wide awake.
Well, he is, and I agree with him a fair amount of what he said.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of LBJ. I think he did a lot of destructive things to the country, and Eisenhower had the Operation Wetback that deported a whole lot of illegal.
And that's a rude name now. We're not allowed to say Wetback.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was official title at the time.
It certainly was.
So it was a real thing, and it was very successful. And Trump is duplicating a lot of that now.
Yeah.
Eisenhower was one of the most popular presidents, and in the 50s, when he was president, were one of our most prosperous times. Mm-hmm. I think I actually have an essay printed saying we live in a golden age, and I think we do. And I think that golden age is going to accelerate in 2026.
We'll see. I think there's going to be a great movement from the left to stop it.
Yes, but I don't think they will succeed.
I hope so. But do you think they'll take the House?
I don't think so.
That's up for grabs.
I mean, my prediction now, I mean, a year ago, I probably would have said, yeah, we don't know. Now the bias is toward keeping it right now.
I think Tim Walz is hurting the Democrat Party right now.
Right, I agree.
I think Minnesota is a really fresh look at long-term Democrat ruling and what it does to a state. Newsom, Walz.
Yeah. I mean, remember, Newsom was the guy who was going to be the candidate against whoever Republican was running in 28. Now he's looking worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, but some still think he's the guy.
Some do.
But how would you feel if you were Newsom and you think you're the guy? And the polls show Kamala Harris #1, anybody else #2, Newsom #3.
That would not be good.
No. It doesn't mean you can't turn around. Look, McCain became the nominee for the Republican, and he's turned off single digits in polls.
Yeah, and a lot of people say he was designed to lose.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I know they treated Sarah Palin absolutely horribly from within the Republican circle.
Yeah, they I mean, McCain, I thought, did a great job to put her on. I thought she was, bright, different, people listened to her, and then he put her in a closet.
Well, his advisors deliberately worked to destroy her.
Yeah.
And no question in my mind. And you could read her book. She wrote an excellent book explaining what happened during the campaign. I think McCain only got as many votes as he did because Sarah Palin was on the ticket with him.
But she was much better choice than our last vice president, Kamala.
Kamala. Oh,
yeah. But they didn't put Kamala in a closet. They put her out there and say stupid stuff every day.
I mean,
and they loved her.
Palin, brilliant. Still is.
Yeah, she is. But I don't think she's doing anything now. She hasn't.
I don't think
she ran for
political-
Senate and didn't win because they have that weird voting thing.
Yeah,
ranked choice.
Ranked choice mess.
They do. We're out of time, my friend. I appreciate it. Have a happy New Year. I'll be back tomorrow. AM 560 KBLU.
There's a man in D.C. He stands 6'3". He's fighting for you. He's